Hey Froggy friends, Kirostyle here, welcome back to Umineko When They Cry, Episode 2, Turn of the Golden Witch. Thank you so much for joining me here on stream. Hey Cycle Reaper, good to see you. Thank you so much for stopping by. So, in the last episode, we left off just after midnight. The clock turned, and we saw all the adults gathered in the chapel, and they seemed to be acknowledging Beatrice. Now, we are waking up in the morning, and presumably the murder mystery is going to begin again, so I guess we're in for a little bit of a surprise to see who survived the night and basically what happened. Hey Jason, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for coming by too. Welcome, welcome. Make yourselves comfortable. I hope you have a good evening. And let's get going. What is that sound that always fills my ears? Is it the sound of the rain, the sound of a waterfall, or could it be radio static? If not, I want it to be the sound of blood flowing through my body. I want it to be the sound of the blood circulating throughout me, telling me that I am still alive. Is it morning? The light entering through a crack in the curtain was faint, but it at least told him that dawn had broken. Kinzo, still in the position he'd been when he woke up, still sitting in a chair and looking up at the ceiling, felt the blood slowly travel throughout his body. Judging by the clock, it was early morning, 6 o'clock on the dot. No matter how tired he was, no matter how deeply he slept, he always woke up at exactly this time, as though he had measured it with an hourglass. He did think of this as something to boast about, but he told himself that as long as he could still manage this, his health couldn't be that bad. Morning has come, which means... It would appear I've avoided becoming one of the first sacrifices. Was I merely lucky when the roulette was spun? Or is this the fruit of my efforts? How irritating that I cannot tell the difference, but I mustn't be bothered by such trivialities. Kinzo was struck by a faint desire to see beyond the study door. After all, he might find the traces of someone's vain struggle to break through the door. A sign that someone had tried to select him as one of the first 6 sacrifices. Humans are cheap creatures. Even though everything is ultimately decided by God, when humans are given good fortune, they arrogantly feel it was due to their own ability. That was why he wanted to check whether there was a wretched mark on the door. The very desire was human. And that was why Kinzo did not check. He often rejected desires that came to him because he was human. By doing that, he could be immersed in a feeling of sufficiency, as though he himself had become a being that surpassed humans. He recognized human desires for what they were, and guarded against them. Things that a human would want to do, he resisted. This eccentricity and rebellious nature had surely given him a rare genius, making it possible for him to succeed in his exploits as he revived the Ushiomiya family in a single generation. Well then, Beatrice, what were the 6 pieces you took? And what will your next move be? Entertain me. My defense is perfect. I will not shame myself like last time. The servants woke early. They had to open the curtains, prepare breakfast, and complete various other tasks to welcome the guests to a new day. Goda was the most enthusiastic. During the family conference, he had been told to concentrate his efforts especially on cooking. He'd been specially exempted from several tasks the servants normally must do. Goda, who was a show-off, seemed to be feeling particularly superior because of that. He let Genji and the rest prepare the rest of the mansion, and worked on making breakfast in the kitchen. Genji split the work with Shannon and Kanon, and they carried out various tasks. Shannon headed to the dining hall and knocked. Last year, the family conference had continued into the early hours of the morning. It wouldn't have been odd if this year's conference had done the same. Considering the possibility that they were still having a discussion inside, she knocked. But there was no response, so she opened the door and said, "Good morning." Hey Armon, welcome to the stream. Thanks for stopping by. Hello, hello. Good morning. Is anyone there? The room is cold, and the conference seemed to have ended a long time before. There was a tea set on the table, from which they'd probably been drinking, arranged in a way that would make it easy to clean up. Cleaning up the tea was the servant's job. If the family members were extra generous and cleaned it up themselves, the servants would lose face. So it was a truly pleasant act of kindness for the family to do only this much. As she approached the table to clean it, she noticed something like a memo that had been left near the utensils and cups. Since it was right next to the tea set, Shannon picked it up, naturally thinking it was a memo for the servant doing the cleaning. Written there was not a request, nor was it thanks for preparing the tea. There was just a single word. Shannon looked at it blankly and read it out loud. Chapel. A small sound kept repeating over and over. Normally that sound would have been too trivial to be worth caring about. If only I could stop hearing it soon, I can go back to sleep right away, she thought vaguely. But no matter how much time passed, the sound did not end. It repeated over and over. Ah, shut up. Who is it? Banging on the door this whole time. As soon as she realized that, she woke up. Someone was knocking. Then she noticed that it wasn't just a knock, but a voice as well. Rosa-sama! Rosa-sama! Good morning. Oh, wait. I'm coming now. It had been Genji's voice. Looking at the clock, it wasn't even 7 o'clock yet. It was clearly too early to wake the guests. Did something happen that was bad enough to cause this? She felt her sleepiness increasingly fade thanks to this premonition of misfortune. Though Genji was a servant, Rosa had known him since her childhood days, so even though she was slightly defenseless in her pajamas, she opened the door crack and answered. Good morning. I apologize for waking you this early. Did something happen? Yes. Actually, at the chapel. Genji whispered something into Rosa's ear. For a second, it seemed Rosa couldn't understand what she'd been told. After having it repeated several times, she realized that apparently something strange had happened. Rosa closed her door for a second, changed her clothes quickly, and followed Genji towards the mansion. The chapel requires some explanation. It wasn't in the mansion, but in a grove behind it, a short walk's distance away. It had been built at the same time as the mansion, so though its walls had been repaired many times, making it look new from the outside, it was a very old building. Rosa dashed through the rain along with Genji. Just like the previous night, the rain was falling in earnest. Eventually the chapel came into sight from beyond, a thin grove. Just looking at it from the outside, it seemed a place of dazzling beauty, where a pair of young lovers might want to get married. However, Kinzo apparently viewed it as a very sacred place, so Rosa and her siblings had been given strict instructions not to approach it unnecessarily. Even though they were all grown up now, approaching the chapel for any reason would still make them feel guilty, and also afraid, as if their father might get angry and hit them in the face. The servants' silhouettes could be seen in front of the chapel's entrance. Goda, Shannon, and Cannon, which meant that all the servants on the morning shift had gathered. A short while ago, Genji had spoken to Rosa, telling her what the situation was. However, without laying eyes on it directly, she definitely hadn't been able to understand. It was probably the same for all the servants gathered here as well. Without seeing it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have been able to understand what was going on. On the door at the entrance to the chapel was something very large, drawn with a creepy, stringy paint that made one think of blood. Something like a creepy magic circle. What is this? When was it drawn here? The servants looked at each other. Goda was the first to open his mouth. My apologies. We don't usually enter this building, so we don't know when it was made. Then who was the first person to find it? It was me. When I went to the dining hall to clean up the tea set, I found a memo with chapel written on it. Shannon held out the memo with a shaking hand. Whose handwriting is it? It isn't Nissan's or Nessan's. So after that, you came here and found this, right? Yes. Rosa-sama, look at this. What? Happy Halloween for... What? Cannon pointed at a single line of English written below the creepy magic circle. Until it had been pointed out to her, she thought it was just another part of the magic circle. There, the following words were written in English. Happy Halloween for Maria. Happy Halloween for Maria. This creepy magic circle was for Maria. Happy Halloween. Yesterday, only one person had said Happy Halloween to Maria. The key phrase matched. It was the Golden Witch, Beatrice. What about Maria? She should be sleeping with her cousins, right? Did you check? My apologies. We just now realized that Maria-sama's name was written here. We still have not checked. Quickly. What are you doing? I'll go check out Maria and come back. Tell Kraus-Nissan and the rest too. After that, follow their instructions. Hey Hikaru, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for coming by. Hope you're having a good day. Please go check out Hikaru if you have not already. Amazing VTuber, streamer, amazing person, super nice. Go check him out. After saying that much, Rosa finally noticed that something was odd. Her own rank in this family conference was the lowest of the four siblings. Why had she been the only one called during an abnormal situation like this, when the other siblings hadn't been? Even if Maria's name had popped up. Could it be? Huh? What? Yes. We tried to contact Kraus-sama, but we couldn't find him. And Madame was not in her room. Judging by the condition of the sheets, she might not have returned to her bed at all last night. Rosa felt something creepy crawling slowly up her back. Did you check inside the chapel? No, not yet. We tried, but... Actually, the lock to the chapel is special, so the master key will not work. There is a single key that can open it, but that key is missing from the key box. She didn't want to get closer to the door with that creepy magic circle if she could. Rosa readied herself and approached, then tried pushing and pulling the knob. All she felt was the resistance of the sturdy lock. We searched to see if there was a window we could enter through, but I think we'd have to break one of the windows if we wanted to check inside. What do you think? There's no way I can give you approval to do something like that. This is Father's precious chapel. At that time, the events of the previous day swirled around in the back of Rosa's mind. That's right. When I met that witch in the rose garden, didn't she hand Maria an envelope? Yeah, there's no mistake. She did hand it over. When Maria tried to open it, the witch told her not to do it yet. And then she surely said, "The time to open that will come soon." Rosa was sure. There could be no mistake. The envelope Maria had received was... Hey Hakaze, welcome to the stream! Thanks for coming by. Hope you're doing well. After dashing back to the guest house, Rosa approached the cousin's room while hiding her footsteps, softly opening the door and appeared inside. From the inside, she could hear the healthy snores typical of young people there. There were 4 children, and Maria was there, sleeping soundly. How am I doing? I'm doing really good, thank you so much, Psycho Reaper. Had a lot of fun yesterday's stream, and today was a very productive day. I hope you're doing well too. After breathing a sigh of relief, she entered the room with quiet footsteps. She was after Maria's handbag, which was resting on the sofa. Maria always liked carrying her treasures around with her. She was probably emulating how her mother always carried her makeup with her. Of course, she was just imitating her mother, so everything on the inside was junk. In Maria's case, it was full of small, creepy, occult items, notebooks describing things of that nature, and so on. Rosa had never been happy to see her daughter walking around with things like that, which weren't girlish at all. However, trying to force Maria to stop had resulted in a big fight, so she decided to let it be. Here. This is it. A Western envelope with the crest of the gold eagle. When she took it out of the bag, she realized it was heavy. There was a heavy, vaguely cylindrical object inside. She could tell by its feel and its weight. There was no doubt. This was a key. After turning around and checking that Maria was still sound asleep, Rosa tore open the envelope, and the contents spilled out into her palm. It was a key with an old and intricate design. Rosa gripped that key and dashed out. Adler seemed to have noticed that sound, but after grumbling and turning over in his sleep, he started snoring again. Genji-san, could this key be the key to the chapel? Where did you... Yes, this is the key to the chapel. Rosa approached the creepy magic circle once again, and put the key in the keyhole. There was a strong resistance. After it resisted for a short while, it stopped resisting with a clunk. Then, squeaking with a noise that hurt one's ears, it slowly began to open. Is anyone there? Her voice reverberated throughout the massive room. Of course, there was no answer. The chapel had a high ceiling and the air was cold. And even on this rainy, unsettling day, it felt sacred for some reason. The servants timidly followed after Rosa. Rosa-sama, look at that. Kana noticed it immediately and pointed. Over there was the altar. In the place that would normally have a pastor preaching of God's love, there was a table that shouldn't have been there. At first, it looked like a dining table. There actually were gorgeous plates and utensils placed there, making it look like a child's birthday party or something. Upon closer inspection, the surrounding area had been decorated with pumpkins and black and orange ribbons. They were probably Halloween decorations. And there were people seated at the table. 3 people on each side facing each other, seated in chairs. They could be recognized at a glance. Kraus and his wife, Ava and her husband, Rudolph and his wife. But if you want to be sure, you still have to go even closer and check. Because they seemed almost like dolls. Rosa and the rest had opened the door, entered all at once with the sound of many footsteps, and called out asking if anyone was there. And yet, there had been no reaction. Even if Rosa and the rest assumed they were being ignored, you'd still expect there to be some kind of reaction. And there hadn't even been that. So at first it felt like someone had set down some dolls that greatly resembled those people. By now, it wasn't just Rosa. Shannon and Cannon and even Goda. They were all fighting frantically with the creepy emotion that grasped their hearts. Ni-san? Ne-san? As she walked towards the altar, she called out again, but there was still no reaction. Yes, by now, Rosa was sure of it. She was sure these weren't dolls, but the people themselves. This is... They grew close enough to see clearly what lay on the table. It still looked like an adorable banquet, reminiscent of a child's birthday party. Plates piled up with sweets, cute pictures with drinks, all kinds of pumpkin-shaped ornaments. They were all decorated in a Halloween style, and while this probably wasn't the time to be thinking it, Maria would surely have been delighted to see all this. That was the state of the table they sat in front of, apparently asleep. It was an eerie scene, as though a small, fun-looking Halloween party had been stopped in time. They're all sleeping? When she approached even closer to them, she realized that there were snacks scattered all over the floor. Candies, cookies, soda, and chocolates, all with heavily fantasy-themed packaging. They were all scattered across a carpet, covered with blackberry and cranberry jam. Rosa and the rest finally realized what the situation was. It was a Halloween party. A banquet for those not of this world. Kraus, Natsui, Ava, Hideyoshi, Rudolph, and Kyrie were seated in chairs, apparently asleep, but all dead. How could you tell that they were dead and not simply sleeping? That was because they'd been vertically sliced open. From their chests to their stomachs. Kraus-sama! How cruel. The 6 of them had sat down at a Halloween party before having their stomachs split open, killing them. Then the jam covering the floor must be what overflowed from their stomachs once they'd stuffed themselves completely, right? No! The contents of their stomachs had been scattered all over the floor, and that wasn't all. Out of their stomachs, it was almost as though they'd poured out, as though snacks had overflowed from there. Candies and cookies, soda and chocolates had poured out, stained with blood, and had scattered all over the floor. What could have happened to cause this? It's almost as though their stomachs were stuffed to full, to bursting with sweets. And it all poured out with their stomachs split open. Rosa remembered a certain shocking meal, a turkey that had been served at her own birthday. When it had been cut open with a knife, out flowed one of her favorite foods. But since she hadn't been told what was inside, the deep, deep red ketchup omelet rice poured out like bloody maggots. Pulsing, dripping, slimy, pulpy, squelching. Ah! Ah! The trauma of her youth was revived. Rosa felt a monster raging inside her stomach as the acid started to rise. Unable to hold back, she threw it all up on the floor. Her empty stomach had nothing but stomach acid. The scene in front of her was no fun Halloween party now. The 3 couples were enshrined right there, their stomachs vertically wrenched open with a gyuguba. So many snacks had been stuffed in there, pulpy, squishy. Blood and guts and sweets were overflowing onto the floor, blood-stained, sticky, sloppy, pulpy. Sweet snacks that made your fingers stick together, gummy, but stained with entrails, sloppy, pulpy. What was that I stepped on just now? That didn't feel like candy, or a cookie, or a soda, or chocolate. I'm scared what I stepped on. I can't even look at the bottom of my foot. What a gruesome Halloween party. From far away, it had looked truly beautiful, fantastical, and fun. But from up close, it was horrible, disgusting, and yet somehow still beautiful. Rosa's wild thoughts tried as best as they could to escape her throat with a loud voice that was neither a scream nor a roar. Kraus-sama. This is horrible. Just horrible. Call an ambulance. Call the police. That's right. The police. Police. If a word so tied to reality hadn't come out of Goda's mouth, Rosa and the rest would probably have found themselves unable to escape that nightmarish party even now. But it wasn't because they thought the police might be able to do something. If they didn't keep yelling about the police, it felt as though another seat might set up at this demon's party and given to them. Their own chests felt like they were expanding unpleasantly from the inside, rumbling, churning. And it was surely because candy was about to overflow from their stomachs. Rosa, once again tortured by a desire to vomit, threw her stomach acid up on the floor. And then she searched to see if there was any candy in it. Anyway. Rosa coughed violently again, forcefully spitting out the stomach acid and burning in her throat. She realized that by now her whole body had been covered in a filthy sweat. Genji-san, Shannon-chan, please contact father and ask for instructions. Goda-san, go with Kanenkun and call the police. Then have Dr. Nanjo come here. Why even bring Dr. Nanjo here? It's a bit too late for medical care. The servants accepted their orders and dashed outside. After watching them leave, Rosa once again stared at her siblings, with whom she spent good times and bad, and their partners. Though there could be nothing more tragic than the scene, for some reason, she was tempted to describe these fantastical deaths as beautiful. They aren't here. Where'd they go? The servant room and the kitchen are both empty. What in the world happened? Mama? Where's Mama? My letter! The letter I got from Bito! Give it back! Give it back! Perplexing. Badler-kun, are you sure it was Aunt Rosa? Well, even I was half asleep, so I'm not too sure. But I get the feeling that even in the early morning, Aunt Rosa came in and fished around in Maria's handbag. I figured there was probably a tube of toothpaste or something in there. Why would there be a tube of toothpaste in Maria's handbag? Looks like you were a little more than half asleep. Adler vaguely remembered Rosa entering the cousins' room. Also, when Maria woke up before the rest of them, she'd started rampaging around, saying that someone had opened the envelope she'd been keeping safe. Putting two and two together, they figured that Rosa had probably come and opened the envelope. A letter from the Golden Witch. I wonder what was inside. I don't know. But that envelope was for grandfather's personal use. And it had the Ushimiya family crest on it. Whatever was inside, it must have had some connection to the family conference. Hey, Lord Demper, welcome to the stream. Thanks so much for coming by. She hadn't let anyone touch it, but yesterday Maria had shown that envelope off to Badler and the rest a whole lot. So they remembered it well. Mama, give it back! Mama, give it back! Well, if you're right, it'd have to be pretty important. Why would this mighty witch give something that important to Maria? I don't get it. Every once in a while, the refreshing morning atmosphere was completely wiped out by the sound of thunder. It was only natural. Since the moment they'd woken up, they hadn't met anyone else. It felt like only they were left, as if the mansion had become an empty husk. Hey! Anyone there? Answer me. Jessica called out into the hallway, and eventually an answer came back. It came from the entrance hall. I can hear you. Has something happened? It's Dr. Nanjo. Thank goodness. It looks like everyone but us hasn't disappeared from this island after all. Dr. Nanjo, good morning. Sorry, but do you know where our parents went? Dear me. I only just woke up and came here, you see. I have no way of knowing for sure, but let's see. It was only natural. Nanjo was a guest just like the rest of them. He'd come just now to pass the time in the parlor until breakfast. Dr. Nanjo, Mama took it. Mama took my letter. Give it back, give it back. You wonder if these people sleep in their fancy dress clothes, right? No pajama sprites for them. Maria buried her face in Nanjo's plump stomach, sobbing and crying. Nanjo could do nothing but be bewildered by this ruckus so early in the morning. Someone's running this way. Jessica, someone's coming. From down the hall, they could sense people running hurriedly. They saw Goda and Cannon coming towards them. Normally, it would be disgraceful for a servant to run inside the mansion, and yet Battler and the rest didn't even think to question that now. Maria's sobbing had become so unimaginable, or so unmanageable, they wanted to ask someone, anyone, where Rosa was. But the two servants seemed to have bigger things on their minds than Jessica, who was waving at them. Goda flew into the servant room, and when Cannon noticed that Nanjo was there, he bowed and approached the doctor at a quick pace before whispering something into his ear. What did you say? Rosa-san did? Yes. I will guide you, so please accompany me. Understood. This way. Without saying anything more than that, Cannon finally noticed Jessica and bowed to her. But he wasn't calm. He dashed back down the corridor by which he had come, followed by Nanjo. By looking at how hurried they were, Battler and the rest realized that yes, something bad really had happened. They saw Goda through the door to the servant room, which had been flung open. He was holding the receiver and violently pressing the hook. From that, they realized that he was trying to call a hospital or the police. In any event, he was trying to call someone because a serious emergency had occurred. Let's have a look. Yeah. Mama, give it back! Give back my letter! It's an invitation to the Golden Land! They didn't know what, but something was happening. Battler and the rest chased after Cannon and Nanjo. And then, we realized. Cannon-kun had called Dr. Nanjo, but he hadn't called us. So we shouldn't have gone with them. I wonder if Alice regretted her excess curiosity when she chased after that rabbit holding a clock. No, you mustn't go in. You mustn't look. Jessica-chan, no. No! Mother! Father! What happened? What the hell is this? This goes way beyond bad taste. Isn't taking someone's life bad enough? What the hell is this? Going to all the trouble after they died, of sitting them on chairs, slicing their stomachs and pulling their entrails out. You went to all the trouble of stuffing their stomachs full of sweets. Why? Why the hell would you do something so fucked up? Damn it. Damn it. Nice job, you bastard. Just great. Just great. Ugh. For those of you just coming into the chat, they already described the scene when Rosa discovered it, so that's why they're not going over all the details. It would be best if everyone went outside. They certainly wouldn't want you all to see them like this. Nanjo told the children to go outside, but no one listened. Rosa-san, please tell them. If they keep looking at something like this, it'll do nothing but harm. Rosa regretted her own carelessness. She should have realized that the children would eventually come here. She should have quickly locked up instead of standing around stunned. So the children had come here. They had seen it. Surely at this very moment they were having a sight burned into their eyes. That was far more grotesque than the shocking meal Rosa had witnessed in her youth. When she hugged Maria, who seemed to be too shocked to show any emotion at this gruesome scene, Rosa cried for them and their parents. The four groaning and crying voices, their sadness, continued to echo in a place that should have known God's love. You piece of crap! Again? Another one of these murders? And this time you made it all elaborate, killing them like it's a total joke. I was rather hoping you'd thank me, not cry out in grief. Thank you? Did you say I should thank you, you old bitch? Damn it, if there's something wrong with your ears, I'll cut them both off so you can hear better. Why should I have to see that insane way of killing and say, oh, thank you very much, Beatrice-sama, I'll beat your brains out. In the last game, you lamented the fact that you couldn't see your parents' faces after they died, yes? So this time, I left them. Didn't touch them. Take a good look, for without a doubt, your father and the rest have been killed. Really? What a nice treat, I'm so fucking happy. I swore I'd plow your face after I choked the life out of you. But I'll take that back now, I'll rip your guts out instead. Don't give in to emotion. Don't stop thinking. My game has already begun, right? I decided to leave you neat and tidy corpses this time. Do you know why? When you denied my existence in the last game, you used this line of thinking. Their faces were crushed, so the identity of the corpses can't be confirmed. Therefore, we can't eliminate the possibility that fake corpses were prepared to create an alibi. Unless that possibility is denied, a human culprit theory can still be built. What you say? So Badler, is it okay to leave the examination of the corpses to Nanjo? Isn't it traditional in mystery novels for the doctor who performs such examinations to be an accomplice? Then don't leave the examination to him. Do it yourself. Make completely sure that without a doubt, the 6 corpses are the 6 people they're supposed to be, that they really, really are dead, not just pretending. If you wish to confirm that your father and mother have been killed by having their stomachs cut open and their entrails pulled out, you better stick your hand inside their stomachs and feel around. Yeah, Umineko, and Higurashi for that matter, is really good at making the creepy faces on the characters. In the anime, the manga, the visual novel, they all do a really good job. I won't cry. Damn it, I won't cry. Badler suddenly yelled. His tears were still dripping down, but as though scolding himself for being a sissy, he slapped his face hard several times with both hands. Even so, the tears still wouldn't stop. However, he felt a hot blaze in both his eyes. Whoever's responsible for this piece of work, I'll make them pay back their debt completely. So this isn't the time to cry. Gotta think about what to do. It's useless. It's all useless. If you got enough time to cry, then think. There's no time to let yourself cry. Rather than genuine anger, perhaps it was more of an evasive anger to blot out his sadness. However, it gave a little courage to George and Jessica, who'd been crushed by the sadness. That's right. Even if we cry, it won't change the reality of what has happened. Damn it! 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 Then what should we do? What should I do for Mom and Dad's sake? Rosa-sama, I have returned. Goda-san, what happened with the police? What did they say to do? Did they say when they think they'll be able to get here? As to that, it seems the phones have broken down. I also tried the emergency wireless, but maybe it's the weather, but that isn't working either. What did you say? So we can't contact the police? It's that person. They did something to the phone line, made it so we can't reach the cops. When she heard that the phones had broken down, Jessica immediately decided that it was the work of that mysterious guest. Her eyes were bright red after so much crying, and they began to grow even redder with rage. There's no need to talk about it, right? I understand everything, that's right, I get it. Who killed Dad and Mom? It's obviously her. It's gotta be that witch or whatever who came yesterday. I'll grab her by the collar. Damn it, damn it, damn it. Jessica-chan, wait. Goda-san, Kanin-kun, go. Yes, ma'am. Lady, wait. Covering her uncontrollable sadness with anger, Jessica ran outside, torn apart by emotion. Thinking about it hastily, maybe the mystery guest who'd arrived yesterday, Beatrice, was suspicious. However, in that instant, there was absolutely no proof that she was the culprit. At this moment, she's just another guest. No more, no less. So Rosa, making an adult decision, was forced to stop Jessica in her rash rampage. Goda and Kanin picked up on this immediately and chased after her. Could the guest that no one invited, Beatrice, be the culprit? I understand how Jessica feels. I wish I could think that too. It doesn't matter who, I want someone to be the culprit so I can bash them right in the face. Before that, we need a clear understanding of what's going on. Who is this? Beatrice. I haven't even seen her face. If you're looking for her face, it decorates the big portrait in the mansion. You still don't remember after looking at it for so long? Come on, Maria. What's so funny in a situation like this? Beatrice is a witch, and the ceremony to open the door to the Golden Land has finally begun. Those 6 people are sacrifices. Come, let us begin the witches' banquet. Tonight is Halloween, so now the witches will gather to celebrate. Maria, don't I always tell you not to laugh with that creepy voice? The crisp sound of Rosa slapping Maria's cheek echoed through the high-ceilinged chapel. Ever since it started raining yesterday, no, ever since the island was swallowed by the typhoon, I felt as though something was wrong. It was bright and sunny when I arrived on Rokenjima, but since I'd gotten up early and was sleepy, I took a nap. When I woke up, it had already started raining. And ever since that time, suddenly a mysterious visitor calling herself the Golden Witch Beatrice arrived, and it felt like I was sinking bit by bit into a bizarre world. What the heck happened while I was napping? Am I supposed to believe this island was sealed off inside a different world where common sense doesn't apply? Who is this person called Beatrice? Is some unknown person trying to involve themselves with the inheritance problem, just like our parents were freaking out about at dinner last night? Or is the culprit this witch from the Legend of the Gold, just like Maria said? Even if we set Jessica's temper aside, given the circumstances, it's probably safe to say that this visitor person is the most suspicious. We mustn't make up our minds based on that alone. Ah, it's useless, it's all useless. I smacked my face with both hands again, cooling off my brains before they overloaded. Even though it might have been a wasted effort. This is one of Grandfather's envelopes. On a tray piled with sweets that decorated the table, George Aniki found a Western envelope that had the Ushimiya family crest done in it in gold leaf. And it was unopened. Which means it's probably meant for us, right? If it was something Dad and the others read, it should be open. It seems your reasoning is correct. It's written right here. Someone wrote, "To those who remain." Is that a letter the culprit left? What's inside? Aniki, let's open it. After nodding silently, George Aniki broke the seal. A folded letter came out. I'll read it. Welcome to Rokenjima, members of the Ushimiya family. I am Beatrice, the alchemist for this family employed by Kinzo-sama himself. That letter really was a joke. This Beatrice, who called herself the family alchemist, had announced that she was collecting the gold she lent Grandfather, along with interest. And that interest was everything Grandfather had created. Since this tragedy was right before our eyes, as this paragraph was being read out loud, it clearly wasn't referring to just the wealth that Grandfather had built up. It was literal. Everything that Grandfather had created. In other words, all of Grandfather's descendants were included in the interest. You bastard. What a screwed up contract. Lives as interest for gold, you say? That's almost like a contract with the devil, isn't it? You think that makes you look more like a witch? Ha! Don't make me laugh. Special clause. However, if someone is able to discover the hidden gold of this contract, Beatrice must abandon these rights for all time. Kinzo-sama has already publicly displayed the location of the hidden gold within the epitaph under my portrait. In other words, it's something like this. If these murders represent her collecting interest, then she's telling us to try and find the gold she gave Grandfather if we wanted her to stop. And she's also saying that the secret pointing to the gold is hidden in the portrait epitaph. So basically, this is a letter of challenge from the witch. She's telling us to try and solve the code that points to the hidden gold if we can. If we can't, she'll keep collecting the interest as planned. I'll beat you to death. Bring it on. Adler-kun, look, look. The table was covered with sweets, so even though those things were right on the open, we just assumed they were sweets too. I mean, come on, you see them a lot, right? You know, those boxes of chocolate shaped like gold ingots. This is no box of candy. It's the real thing. This is a real gold bar. It's inscribed with the crest of the one-winged eagle. I heard Mother talking about this earlier. This is a gold bar from Grandfather's Legend of the Gold. Gold ingots, weighing a full 10 kilograms, a whole 3 of them, were piled up in the very center of the table. It was where a cake would be placed if this was a birthday party. In other words, this was without a doubt the birthday cake of the party, known as the family conference. These are really 4 9s quality ingots. It's worth about 60 million yen. Dumbass! It's too cheap. Our parents have been killed and all you got is a pile of just 60 million yen in gold? Don't take us for fools, damn it! So, it has begun, Beatrice. It's not like anyone can solve this riddle anyway, so Beto will definitely win. Quickly, open the door to the Golden Land, and take me with you. My lady, please calm yourself. We still don't know who the culprit is, and Beatrice-sama is an important, honored guest of the Masters. So what? If we grab her by the collar, she'll definitely confess. If I can just look her in the eye, I'll know. I'll see you through her. A witch? Beatrice? Yeah, right. I'll expose her. Jessica never stopped moving. Goda and Cannon chased after her, doing their best to convince her to stop, but Jessica never lent them an ear. Eventually, the witch's VIP room came into view. This VIP room was always sealed and never used. No matter what kind of guests came, Kinzo wouldn't let them in there. And yet, the servants were always made to clean this room, so that it could be used at any time. So the servants had started calling this room the witch's VIP room after their second, shapeless master. Jessica knew about this too. She couldn't forgive the arrogance of the one who called herself a witch by staying in that room. The Golden Witch was just a fairy tale. Come on, a witch? To Jessica, she was nothing more or less than the murderer who had brutally killed her parents. Question her, hear her pitiful excuses, make her splutter in pain, gasp in anguish. No matter how hard she pretends to be a witch, I'll teach her that she's just a stinking, sweaty human. As Jessica yelled with all her strength, she hit the door to the VIP room. It definitely wasn't a knock. That sound was the beating of her anger's hammer, as if she was determined to break the door down if it wasn't opened. Open up, Beatrice! Come out! You hear me, right? Open up! There was no answer. Jessica grabbed the doorknob without any reservation, but she felt the resistance of the lock. She turned around to look at the 2 servants and spoke. The master key will unlock this, right? Use it! Milady! That would be horribly rude. Although Goda was flustered, he still tried to somehow calm Jessica's anger. After hanging his head silently for a while, Cannon pulled a master key from his jacket pocket. Cannon-san, are you sure? Yes, I'm fully aware it would be rude if she happens to be in there. At any rate, if Beatrice had nothing to do with that incident, all she has to do is give us a satisfying explanation. That's right, exactly. Let me borrow that. Jessica snatched the master key from Cannon's hand and violently shoved it into the keyhole. Immediately there was a small sound and she felt the lock click. Then, without asking permission, she flung the door open. Beatrice! Where are you? Come out! Jessica rudely stepped into the room. The witch wasn't anywhere to be seen. That bitch! She's not here. Where the hell'd she go? Yes, she doesn't seem to be here. Jessica, thinking she might be hiding somewhere inside the room, peeked behind the curtains and under the bed, but she couldn't find anyone. However, there definitely were signs that the bed had been used. And though it was only a vague sense, the atmosphere in the room felt a little soft. It wasn't the hard atmosphere of a place normally devoid of people like the chapel. You could definitely tell that someone had spent the night in this room. You like how they emphasize she stepped rudely into the room? Yes. But she could not be seen. In reality, neither Jessica nor Goda had met Beatrice. They had only been told by those who had met her that she looked like a double of the character in the portrait. So they were doubtful about what her face really looked like. However, Cannon alone had met her. He understood what kind of being that witch was, what kind of personality she had. so he knew that forcing their way in here in search of her definitely wouldn't work out. She must be watching us bitterly flail about in vain from somewhere, sneering at us. She's that kind of person. If he was looking at things that way, Cannon was the first to find it. The other two were concentrating on finding the shadow of a person, so they didn't notice. Near a water jug on the side table, there was a single sheet of letter paper. On it was a short message, and nearby was a fountain pen, which had probably been used to write it. Cannon had already come to understand the witch. After finding the corpses, they'd been overcome by rage and barged in here only to find no one. So of course the witch would mock them. You can't mock someone unless they know they're being mocked. So in other words, that's what this must be. Milady, there's something written here. Something written? What? Jessica dashed over and violently snatched this piece of paper away. She probably wasn't trying to be violent. She just couldn't control her strength right now. What the? Don't fuck with me. As soon as she read the message, Jessica went into a wild rage, crumpled the paper up and threw it. Then she grabbed a light stand by the bedside and violently swung it around, mercilessly hitting the walls and furniture with it. The light bulbs all shattered at once, and the fragments were scattered across the room. Milady, please calm down. You'll hurt yourself. Let go. Damn it. Damn it. Come out, Beatrice. How could you do that to Mom and Dad? You think you scare me? I'll kill you. I'll kill you. I'll beat you to death, so show yourself. I told you to let go of me, damn it. This was written on the paper. Did you think I'd be that senile to just sit around here waiting for you to come barging in? You're way too inelegant for this intellectual night. I can only imagine what the parents who raised you to be such a moron must have looked like. Oh right, I saw them, and they looked just as moronic as you. Now, their bellies are full of the land of sweets. It was the sort of thing that a witch would write. It meant she predicted that one of the children who'd lost their parents would come running in here. If she's hiding somewhere in this room, she must be rolling around laughing now. The witch was that kind of person. She sneered at people's misfortune, using it to stave off the boredom of 1,000 years. Hand it over. I'm telling you, you'll hurt yourself. Ugh. I told you to let go. Damn it. Damn it. Ugh. Goda snatched away the light stand Jessica had been holding. After all, if she kept swinging it about, she might end up smashing it against something, which could cause serious injury. To Goda's eyes, Jessica probably looked mad with rage, burning herself up with the flames of anger. But Cannon's eyes saw it differently. Those were probably tears of sadness hidden by rage. So, when the light stand was taken from her, when she started crying on the floor, scratching at the carpet almost as though she was groveling, Goda was surprised, but Cannon was not. Of course, she had lost her means of crying by lashing out in rage. Dad, Mom. Considering that she was a daughter of the Ushimiya head family, she was in a very shabby state. She scratched at the carpet with her fingernails, and even her feet were scratching. Jessica cried very, very hard. Because if she didn't, her rage would start building up again and swallow her up. But over and over again, she remembered that humiliating message. I can only imagine what the parents who raised you to be such a moron must have looked like. Don't you call them morons? Both Dad and Mom were smart. Unlike me, they were really smart. Don't you call them morons? Take it back. Take it back. Oh right, I saw them, and they looked just as moronic as you. Now their bellies are full in the land of sweets. Damn it! I'll kill her. I'll kill her. I'll slice open her stomach and see how she likes it. As Jessica cried and screamed, she triggered an asthma attack. The servants watching over hurriedly ran up to her and rubbed her back, but that only provoked Jessica's wrath. The hell? If you got the time to do that, search for that bastard. Find him. Bring him here. If you won't go, I will. And I'll kill him with my own hands. I'll slice open her stomach. Don't touch me. Damn it. Damn it. Jessica got up unsteadily and her asthma continued as she went out into the hallway. Milady, your medicine, quickly. I will call Dr. Nanjo. Goda-san, would you leave this to me? Kanon had noticed. Goda, who was vastly separated from her in age, probably couldn't sense the tears in Jessica's heart. Kanon, who had noticed, had to be the one to support her. Kanon-san, are you sure? I believe Milady needs some time to cry right now, considering that she saw her parents killed like that. You're right. Goda also understood, and he knew that Jessica and Kanon had shared a vague relationship with each other. So he understood everything and left it to Kanon. Very well. I will go back to Rosa-sama. Please take care of Milady. Yes. Leave it to me. Kanon's voice was frail, but he nodded firmly. After looking at his eyes, Goda nodded firmly as well. Goda was a veteran with many years behind him. He'd seen a great number of people in his life, so he knew the vigorous sparkle that could be found in the eyes of those who possess self-control. He had surely seen that in Kanon's eyes, so he would leave this to Kanon. When you think about it, maybe this was the first time Goda had ever trusted Kanon and relied on him for a job. Jessica, still suffering from her asthma, seemed to be heading towards her room, though she kept leaning against the wall. Kanon followed her wordlessly. If she had asked for a hand, he would have leapt forward and supported her. But until Jessica did ask for that, he chose to hide himself, watching over her from a distance where he can come to her rescue at any time. When people feel their hearts are about to explode from sadness and want to have someone by their sides, you could bet 10 billion of them would want to turn around and find someone in that place Kanon now stood, as he watched over Jessica from behind. Then finally, she doubled over in front of the door to her room. The asthma attack had stolen all her strength, and her thoughts had gotten hazy from the lack of oxygen, making it impossible to even stand up again. But right then, Jessica didn't think she wanted someone to lend a hand. She still hadn't been able to overcome the flames of anger. Even if someone had offered her a hand with good intentions, Jessica would have wanted to tear it right off right then. She knew how unfair that would be, so she definitely wouldn't ask for help until she overcame the fiery anger burning inside. Jessica had probably lost the willpower even to call for help. But Kanon heard it. He definitely heard it. Kanon definitely heard that voiceless call for help, one shared by miserable grievers the world round, an endless scream that no one ever seems to hear. Kanon quietly knelt by Jessica's side and wordlessly offered her a shoulder. Though Jessica kept coughing painfully, she accepted it, unlocked the door to her room, and entered. This way. I'll prepare your medicine right away. Jessica often said that when her asthma got serious enough, it hurt so bad it felt like she'd vomit up her whole stomach. Her face was pale, and her gaze wavered, and yet the coughing continued. Even so, her sadness was probably even stronger. After having her sit on the bed, Kanon took a bronchodilator from the cute little basket on the nearby side table and handed it to her. Jessica sometimes forgot to take her medicine with her. Whenever this seemed to have happened, Kanon would take notice and secretly carry around the inhaler from the first aid kit in the servant room, but he hadn't done so today. He scolded himself, as though wondering how he could call himself furniture after failing to bring it with him on a day like this. Then he remembered the day when he'd used that word and somehow betrayed Jessica's feelings. It jarred Kanon's heart, but he felt it would be indiscreet to think about something like that considering how Jessica felt now, and he locked it up inside the depths of his heart. When she inhaled her medicine, Jessica's wild breathing calmed down bit by bit, and she was finally able to regain her composure. But she'd lost too much strength and willpower to get up from the bed. Are you alright, milady? I'm alright. I'm all messed up over Mom and Dad. But after I cry a bit more, I'll be alright. Canon regretted his poor choice of words. Did he really say, "Are you alright" to her? Was he really that clueless of the pain in her heart? This was what made him furniture. This was why he couldn't become human. I will be in the corridor. If you need anything, please call me immediately. Canon understood that she still needed some time to cry alone. He told her to call him at any time, bowed, and tried to leave the room. Do you need something? Jessica had spoken up as though she wanted him to stop, so Canon had stopped. If she asks it, I'll do anything I can to help her. Right now, I'd become even a cane or a chair if it would help ease the pain in her heart. If by doing that, I could make up for the pain I dealt to her heart on that day. Yeah, Rokujima, become human. For a while, Jessica stared into Canon's eyes. It was as though her reason for stopping him was something she couldn't put into words. For a while, neither spoke. Jessica broke that silence. With a small voice. I'm sorry. It's nothing. Could you tell Aunt Rosa that I want to be alone for a while? I won't let you be alone. Huh? I won't let you be alone. So I will be in the corridor. Please call for me at any time. For just an instant, it looked like some kind of hope had flitted into Jessica's eyes. But it was very faint. It disappeared like the first snow on the surface of a river. Thanks. Let me cry alone. For just a bit. Hey Aru, welcome to the stream! Thanks for stopping by, I hope you're having a good evening. Yes. Excuse me. Canon bowed once again and closed the door. He thought those words of his would give her some strength, or give her some courage. But now it felt as though they'd actually hurt her for some reason. Why? He didn't know. Surely that was because he was furniture. Doing good? Oh, that's good to hear. About to eat dinner? Awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm doing really well, thank you. That was why he couldn't grasp human sadness even now. As Canon repeatedly questioned himself, he walked down the corridor. He felt like the window at the corridor's end was coolly calling to him. In the end, am I nothing more than furniture after all? It was still pouring outside, a dark, grey world. Even on days like this, Shannon would surely see the ocean and know it was blue. But to my eyes, even if it cleared up, I would only see grey. Until I can understand the blue of the ocean, I'll be nothing but furniture, imitating a person. You really don't understand a woman's heart, do you? At times like this, you ought to silently remain by her side. That's why you're furniture. You. There shouldn't have been any trace of human life in this corridor. It had been an empty corridor filled with frigid air. But those scoffing words approached Canon from behind. When he turned around, he saw that witch. That witch who hadn't shown herself when Jessica had searched for her with a rage bordering on madness, and who had left that sneering letter to toy with Jessica. There are 3 ways to hurt a woman. Let me teach you them. One is to hurt them with a blade. Another is to hurt them in their heart. The last way is the most difficult and the most effective method of hurting them. And yet, it can hurt them without you even realizing it. Do you know what I mean? How could I know? I don't even want to know. It's to betray their expectations. No living being is more of a dreamer than a woman. They make up dreams all on their own and end up hurting their own selves. A distant man like you hurts women the most. You couldn't understand. You have no idea how deeply you've wounded Jessica. After all, you're furniture. I have no intention of playing along with your nonsense. Did you appear only to sneer at me? Don't be so full of yourself, furniture. You aren't worth sneering at. Still, though you may not be worth my time on your own, if the two of you are gathered, that's all I need. The pleasure that comes from laughing at the fates of young couples never tires me. What did you say? You don't mean... Milady is going to be... I need two who are close for the sacrifices of the second twilight. The two of you truly are convenient. Wait, don't misunderstand. Milady and I don't have that kind of relationship. Your Canon's shocked expression here is kind of precious, isn't it? We can't become the sacrifices for the second twilight. That's why you hurt Jessica. That's why you cannot become human. And there should be no problem. If you won't admit you have feelings for Jessica, I can accept that. But I will kill her. Why? You idiot. Isn't it obvious? It'll be fun to kill her and see your face twist in pain. Why else? Following the rules of the ceremony, 13 people will be sacrificed on my whims. However, there's no rule that says I can't kill more. If it amuses me, I can kill any number of people. So I will. Make me laugh as hard as I can, Canon the furniture. At that time, Canon definitely heard Jessica scream. When he blinked and looked down the corridor, the witch who'd supposedly been there so nonchalantly just a second ago was gone. At that moment, he was just standing there all alone in the corridor doing nothing. And the person he wanted to protect was asking for help, from far away in that direction. It was obvious what he should do. It wasn't logical. It was an electric reflex. Without a trace of hesitation or distraction, there was a person he wanted to protect, and she was asking for help. And at that moment, he genuinely wanted the person by her side to be him. When he flew into Jessica's room, the scene that greeted his eyes was a bizarre one. The room had become a fantastical world, where a blizzard of gold-colored specks danced, almost as though gold leaf had been scattered inside a snow globe. No, that's not it. I've seen this spectacle before. This isn't gold leaf. It's countless golden butterflies, Beatrice's minions. Jessica was surrounded by countless butterflies, waving her hands around, trying frantically to drive them away. Milady! Canon-kun! Help! Canon rushed towards Jessica and violently brushed the cloud of butterflies away. But the butterflies, which were sickening despite their beauty, surrounded Jessica's face, trying to claw in through her mouth and nose. Jessica choked violently, almost as though the butterflies were triggering an asthma attack, mocking her. When Canon ran towards her, the butterflies stopped attacking and began to dance an elegant rondo around the pair. Canon-kun, Canon-kun. It's okay. While there's still life in me, I won't let anyone lay a finger on you. Come out, Beatrice. Yeah, it's like the SpongeBob episode with the butterfly. It looks all cute and pretty, and then they go up to it close and you see a creepy, realistic face. Are you happy now? As he stood guard in front of Jessica, who was using her inhaler and seemed to be in pain, Canon yelled into the empty air. And when he did, the empty air did indeed laugh back, satisfied. Then she showed herself. It wasn't a response to Canon's demand. It was obviously because appearing and sneering would bring them even more humiliation. And plus, it was more fun. Now everything fits to the plot. Now you're carp on the chopping board. No, since we've got a pair of you, should I call it a duck with green onions? You... Beatrice. Please stand back. I'll protect you, milady. When the princess and the knight come together, it's inevitable that the witch will appear. Yes, why don't you show me how much power Kinzo's furniture can muster? She snapped her fingers with a piercing sound. When she did, a blizzard of gold butterflies was stirred up, and they began to form a small mountain as they whirled around in a circle. It was just like the swirling of a cold, wintry wind that builds up a mountain of leaves. From that mound of gold, a hand sprouted, and it appeared, as though a resident of the world below was crawling up from beneath the ground. What is this? What the hell is this? Jessica couldn't comprehend what she was seeing right now, and her mouth kept flapping open and closed. It was the bite of wisdom seen in those trying to understand something incomprehensible. Yeah, it's a huge man! That thing crawling up was probably an attendant who served the witch. It appeared to be wearing a uniform suitable for one who served, but its face was wrong. It looked strange. It was covered with pitch black hair, breathed rotten breath, and its eyes were filled with the same strange subterranean glow as lava. And, to symbolize its non-human status, it had 2 horns. It was the figure of a goat-faced attendant who served the witch. AV, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for coming by. Also, I have to mention this fun fact. Okay, in the original visual novel, I remember I told you guys that the art wasn't super good because it was drawn by Ryukishi, the author. He drew the goat as like a normal man, almost like a regular butler outfit, slim body with a goat head. In the Steam version of the game, which is also the pachinko version of the game, the goat is also just a regular butler with a head. But for some reason, in the PS3 console version of this game, which is also the version of which I've patched it with the artwork, because the PS3 artwork is the superior version of the artwork. For some reason, they decided to buff up the goats immensely and make them super jacked, probably to make them look more intimidating. But man, I thought that maybe so they buffed them up in the PS3 version of the game. Maybe they buffed it up in the pachinko Steam version of the game, but they didn't. They just kept it like normal. Even in the anime, like they're slightly buffed, but they're still like normal human shape. While this is just like ridiculous. It is very intimidating though. By now, Jessica had no idea what she should say. All this happening in front of her couldn't be explained with common sense, and she couldn't do anything except open and close her mouth. Jessica hadn't realized. She hadn't realized that this island had already been cut off from the rules of our world. There was some things even she could understand. This goat attendant served the witch, and was after her life. I'm doing well, thank you, V. How are you doing? I hope you're having a good evening. Thank you so much for dropping by. And apparently the witch had already given it the order. She was looking at Cannon with an expectant gaze. She looked at him with an expectant and therefore challenging gaze, as though asking him how he intended to protect his maiden. Though the attendant had looked especially bestial while crawling to its feet, you could see in the way it carried itself that it possessed more than enough grace to be worthy of serving the Golden Witch. You're doing well, but not... Oh, it's the hot weather, so you're vibing. Fair enough, fair enough. I appreciate you coming by. Make yourself comfortable. Well then, why don't you show me? Let's see the power of Kinzo's furniture. This time, don't get the wrong idea, okay? Don't forget that you're furniture, got it? If you try to continue playing the human even now, this won't be settled by your death alone. The goat attendant made what seemed to be a silent, respectful bow. Was it directed at its master, or was it offered to Canon, its opponent? Then, on the attendant's hand, a blade of wicked malice appeared. What? What the hell? Is that... Jessica had been unable to understand what was happening before her eyes for a while now. All she understood was that this glow in front of her existed for the purpose of ending her life. And right now, that was enough. Canon spoke quietly to Jessica, who was hiding behind his back. "Milady, please stay back against the wall. Never let your back leave the wall." What? It's only right for the maiden to obediently hide behind the great knight's back. I do hope you enjoy the pleasure of having your life protected by a man. Now, Canon, let's have a look at your blade. Beautiful. At least when it comes to giving birth to furniture, Kinzo might even reach up as far as my feet. A thing like this can't even be used to trim the roses. Canon-kun, what's... I didn't want to show you. So you've taken it out. How does it feel to expose your subhumanity in front of the girl you care for? Be silent. Huh. So you'll act composed, even though you're really burning with wrath. Yes, they do say that truly hot flames burn a cool blue. Is that how you are now? There's no way I can kill you with my power. You are the moon. I can never smash the moon by throwing a rock. However, in order to manifest yourself, you've had to reflect your image off the surface of the water. If you throw a rock at the surface of the water, you might be able to disturb the moon's image for some time. But that doesn't mean the moon has been smashed. So, until this life of mine is over, I'll keep on striking your reflection. I like it, Canon. Begin, furniture. Yeah, it's like a laser sword from Halo, right? Huh. What a beautiful curve. The witch's words of admiration broke the silence, and for just an instant they broke Jessica's paralysis. Am I dreaming? Come, furniture of the witch. I'll beat you down to the hell you came from. A strand of red had been left on Canon's cheek. The witch saw this and grinned broadly. Feel free to mutter excuses about how your instincts still haven't returned quite yet. Canon-kun, stay strong. Canon having a lightsaber duel with a goat wearing a business suit wasn't something you could say you were expecting. Right? I'll talk more about this scene after, but this is where the visual novel starts to get really interesting. The fantasy starts to mix into the reality. and the humans actually start defending themselves, which is super cool and badass. It's okay. I won't die just yet. The curve drawn by the goat attendant's blade drew a large arc in empty space. Cannon wasn't there. He was behind it. Go back and await your master's return. Die. This battle of drawing sparkling curves was chess. Then cannon coming from behind was check. Nothing personal, kid. And press, and press, and press, and press. Use 7 moves and make it mate. Perhaps the goat attendant hadn't even been granted the ability to go into its death throes. As its knees buckled and it fell over, it broke into a bunch of gold butterflies with a pop. So there was no sound of it hitting the ground. Even those unable to understand this battle would surely realize that cannon had been magnificent. Huh. So, it couldn't win against a handmade piece. It seems you aren't quite that pathetic. You're next, Beatrice. The instant cannon's blade sliced diagonally through the witch's form like a knife through butter. She turned gold and burst. She scattered into several thousand gold butterflies, and for just an instant the room was filled with the color of twilight. It was just as Cannon himself had said. Slicing Beatrice was just the same as slicing the surface of the water, where the moon was reflected. The witch's form, with an ordinary expression on its face, as though she'd been there the whole time, was right behind Cannon. You've provided quite an entertaining show. Out of respect for that, I thought about letting you off the hook, but your rudeness now has made me change my mind. Don't lie. I won't let you kill Milady. Even if that's impossible, I won't let you kill her while I still live. You can't even do that much. Do not speak, furniture. Be silent, furniture. Know your place, furniture. Cannon-kun isn't furniture. Huh. What makes you think that? I don't need a reason. Cannon-kun is Cannon-kun. No, his real name's different, but a name doesn't make him furniture. Cannon-kun has his own way of living. That's a noble thing, and it's something he gets to decide for himself. You say he can't have an opinion because he's furniture, that he can't live his own life because he's furniture. That's wrong. Milady, you mustn't provoke her. No, I've got to make this clear. Cannon-kun isn't furniture. He's human. Why? Cannon-kun rushed to save me of his own free will, and he stood in the path of a fearsome witch like you. He had so many chances to just let me go, but he didn't. Self-sacrifice is part of the noble spirit that only humans have. That means Cannon-kun's human. So take it back. Don't you call Cannon furniture again. Milady. Huh. Be silent, human. Let's end this quickly, since this is still the second twilight after all. Now I shall sacrifice the two who are close, who have acknowledged each other's dignity. Well then, arise, forgive the sin, one of the 7 stakes of purgatory, lust. The witch summoned her furniture with a mixture of laughter and anger on her face. Asmodeus of lust, right here. I've had enough of this farce. Quickly, execute the second twilight. Don't keep me waiting, got it? As you command. Another weirdo shown up. Ugh. It took Cannon less than an instant to understand. That goat face from a second ago had been nothing more than a pawn to the witch. However, this newly summoned furniture was a game piece with a vastly different value. Wow, I must be lucky to be given such wonderful prey. You scared? How cute. Come, furniture of the witch. I won't be killed by you. You're acting pretty smart for a dunce who can't even follow me with his eyes. Here I go, Kay. Hey, where do you want it? Where do you want me to pierce you? Answer me, cutie. I'll pierce you good wherever you want. Come on, answer me, cutie. Don't call me cute. Here I go, you dunce. Come on, try and follow me, you blind idiot. Milady. I couldn't follow it with my eyes, but my guess was spot on. Serves you right. Cannon's back had been the target, but Jessica had predicted it. She predicted that the witch's target would be the complete opposite of fair and honest. His back. She had no way to block it. She hadn't planned on it being some act of self-sacrifice. She just couldn't think of any other way to protect Cannon's back. So she could do nothing but block it with her own back. The furniture of the witch, which had changed its form into a demon's stake, was buried deep into Jessica's back. It was an obviously fatal wound that reached as far as her lungs. When she saw this, the witch let out a loud, evil laugh, because it had hit where the witch had predicted. Everything was as the witch had predicted. What's wrong, Cannon? Milady Jessica just got killed while you still lived, didn't she? Yes, that's it. That face, that look on your face is what I want to see. How truly enjoyable. That's enough. Die, make me laugh. Come, arise, forgive the sin. One of the 7 stakes of purgatory. Wrath. Satan of Wrath, right here. This prey is yours. Eat him up right now and close the curtain on his stage. If you were human, I'd say it's time for you to step down. But since you're furniture, maybe I should say it's time for the stage manager to carry you behind the stage. I am not furniture anymore. I won't doubt that again. Oh, what's this? You want to be killed by me again? Your chest, it's so warm, and it feels so good to pierce it. Come on, let me have a taste, okay? Won't you make me feel really good with that hot, fresh blood in that warm chest of yours? There was no way to block it. The sound of a woodpecker filled the entire room, and before he could blink, it was already right in the center of his chest. When you take a piece in chess, the rules say that it's impossible for your opponent's piece to defend itself, so this was an obvious result in accordance with the rules. Cannon landed on his knees, and he apologized. Not to the witch, and not to Milady. He apologized to Jessica. I'm sorry. I couldn't protect you. Don't worry about it. You were really cool. Cannon finally fell over. He landed next to Jessica and the two lay there like the constellation Gemini. You know, Cannon-kun, you aren't furniture anymore. Yes, I was too late in realizing that. I want to ask you what your real name was. My real name is... In his last moments, Cannon wanted to tell her his real name. But Jessica had already fallen into a sleep from which she would never wake. So Cannon's real name, which he had protected until today, in the end, he couldn't tell it to Jessica. I became human. Those were the last words Cannon left behind. Don't make me laugh, furniture. Even after 100 years, furniture will still be furniture. Have you ever heard of anyone stupid enough to dig a grave for their furniture when they throw it away? You smash furniture to pieces and make firewood, so all that's left is ashes. That's how it is. Furniture gets no tombstone. It seems you believe death means an end to your humiliation, but that's naive. I'll show you what it really means to disgrace the dead. After taking a puff from her pipe, the witch breathed the smoke at Cannon's corpse. When she did, Cannon's corpse softly floated up into the air and disappeared as though it had been eaten by a mouth in empty space. The witch played dirty until the very end. The corpses of the pair who managed to understand each other in the end were not even permitted to be close. If someone had been watching, they would probably say mournfully, "So this is what you meant by disgracing the dead." However, Beatrice was far crueler than that. The reason for that would soon become apparent. I see. So it has begun. Yes. Even though Kinzo had received news of 6 deaths, his emotions did not waver. The expression on his face as he gazed out the window was a smile, as though his opponent in a chess game had just made a spectacular move. It was hard to imagine that such an expression could ever appear on a father who had lost so many children at once. Goda and Cannon followed Rosa-sama's orders and went to call the police. After that, she ordered us to follow your orders, Master. What shall we do? This island has already been cut off from the real world. Mere phones will serve no purpose. Should I have them stop? Until the roulette is finished, what they do to pass the time is up to them. Let them do as they please. Yes, sir. What should we tell Rosa-sama? Didn't I say they should pass the time as they pleased? They can sing if they want, dance if they want. They're even free to hang themselves by the neck or jump into boiling kettle. Until 13 people die, they can spend their time as they like. If that's too boring, then they can wonder about whether 6 times 9 is 42 or something. That's the answer to the mystery of humanity and the universe. Yes. My apologies. Is that a reference to Hitchhiker's Guide here in Umineko? Shannon cowered in fright at the sudden rage. Genji made a gesture as though telling her not to speak out of turn. Shannon couldn't help but regret saying too much. However, you two are also free to do as you wish. Genji, and Shannon too, you have done well serving me until today. Your words are too good for me. But, we are furniture who have sworn to serve the master. We stand ready to serve you no matter the time. Until the very end. I want to tell you about everything. Shannon, I am going to write a will. I shall need you to transcribe for me. Please, Genji, my usual drink. Huh? Yes, sir. Nanjo often recommended that Kinzo write a will because of his health, but each time he had, Kinzo had gone mad with rage. Ever since then, you'd think will would have been the word Kinzo hated most. And hearing such a word come from his lips, Shannon couldn't help doubting her ears for a second. Shannon hurriedly prepared the side table and some writing paper. Genji followed his orders and began preparing the usual green, evil drink. I'm ready. Huh. Where should I begin? Shall I also speak of my life? It would be fun to leave behind a record of my most memorable games. It could be truly amusing to read the records of old games from centuries past, to journey in search of those players' thoughts. So, should the game record of my life lead those in the future to go on a journey and search for my thoughts? Huh. For a while, Kinzo pondered over where he should begin, strutting all over the room with his hands behind his back. Master? Here. Ah, yes. Thank you, my friend. Well then, if I am to speak of my life, I must begin by writing of my meeting with that witch. Shannon, begin writing. My first meeting with Beatrice took place a long way back. What year of the Showa era was it? It must have been at the end of the war, so... We took enough time to regain our calm. We each swore to our parents that we'd catch the culprit. It would be a lie to say we weren't still torn up. Even now, if we let our guards down just a little, we'd probably start going on a rampage just like Jessica, letting our emotions show with some kind of violence. According to what Goda-san said after he got back, right now Kanin-kun was looking after Jessica. Apparently she was still very emotionally high-strung. I see. Thank you. Maybe a young kid would be better at understanding a young kid's feelings. It would probably be better if we left them alone for now. Rosa-san, there is nothing more to be gained by remaining here. The phones may not be working, but tomorrow the boats will come. We should be able to reach the police. We should leave this place as it is for the police's investigation. I agree with Dr. Nanjo. Staying in a place like this for too long will be bad for your health. Let us return and make some black tea. Yeah, I agree with that. Adler-kun, George-kun, are you ready? Let's lock up here. We ought to leave this place as it is anyway for when the police come. Yeah, calling Jessica emotionally high-strung seems pretty tone-deaf, doesn't it? You're right. Adler-kun, are you okay? Yes. I've cried all I can. I'm fine now. The police would surely find some evidence during their thorough investigation. We weren't adult enough to wait for that. I'd investigated the chapel in my own way, trying to grab the culprit before the police arrived. What I figured out was absolutely nothing, frustratingly. I wasn't able to find a single hint. Come on, let's go out. Maria, we're going. Don't keep staring at it. Come, Maria-sama. Let us return. It's cold here. Father, Mother, thank you for everything. I will definitely become a man who doesn't betray your expectations. George spoke his last words of farewell to his parents. After seeing that, Badler followed suit. Dad, Kirie-san. Just looking at their faces, it looked like they were sleeping, but that just made it even more painful. Forgive me for leaving you in a cold place like this. I'll definitely get whoever did this, no matter what. What is this? What a repulsive scribble. Did the culprit draw it? This is worse than vulgar. How horrible. When the door to the chapel was closed, we learned about that creepy scribble for the first time. When we first found this, it was already drawn here. It must have been made by the culprit. So supposedly the culprit was a witch, and this is a magic circle to summon a demon or something. This is the 7th magic circle of the sun. Don't you even know that? Ow. Hey, don't I always tell you not to make that creepy laugh? Maria, go on. What does it mean? It's a magic circle to escape from physical or mental bonds. And the part written around the circumference says, "The Lord has freed me from my chains. I will offer to you the sacrifice of thanksgiving. I will call on the name of the Lord," in Hebrew. Sacrifice of thanksgiving. So they killed Father and the rest to use them as human sacrifices for this magic circle. Calm down, Georgekin. This is the culprit trying to provoke us. I'm sure it doesn't mean anything. Thinking about it will only poison the heart. And, looks like there's some English written here. Happy Halloween for Maria. I get it. And the key to open this door was handed over to Maria. Is that what's going on? Well, this is the chapel after all. Maybe Maria doesn't mean Maria-chan, but the Virgin Mary. In that case, you could read this as blasphemy against God, in the name of Halloween. They say witches who make contracts with demons swear to defile God's name at all times. In that sense, this really is a witch-like crime. Sounds like you know a lot about it. Did you get that from Maria? Yeah, something like that. The chapel, huh? They went to all the trouble of calling them out here and killing them. On Rosa, does this chapel have some special meaning? What do you mean, special meaning? Well, someone carried 6 human corpses all the way over here and set up these elaborate decorations. We can't tell if she called the 6 of them over here before killing them, or if she killed them before carrying them over here. But either way, it'd take a lot of effort. Why did the culprit want 6 people to die here? True. By doing something that elaborate, there would be an extremely high chance of some disadvantageous evidence being found when the police arrive. It is inconceivable that the culprit would fail to realize this. The issue now is why the culprit went to all that effort. And that leads us to just one question. What meaning is there to this place where we found the 6 corpses? This chapel was important to Father. Ever since I was a kid, I was given strict instructions never to enter it. I came here once too, got in lots of trouble. An important chapel. Does it have some connection to the Ushirimiya head family? I don't know. Father viewed this chapel as very sacred, and he treasured it so much that he had it redecorated several times. But as everyone knows, Father wasn't a devout believer, as his passion for black magic demonstrates. I've never heard of him coming here to offer his prayers to God. As far as I know, the Master has never come here. We even call this the Sealed Chapel, and I found it eerie like a haunted house. Even though Father never approached it himself, for some reason he made the servants give it a major cleaning several times a year. It felt like he kept it clean all the time so it could be used at any moment. And even so, it's called the Sealed Chapel. Maybe it's indiscreet to say this, but doesn't that sound pretty cool? Dr. Nanjo, you're an old friend of Grandfather's, right? Have you heard anything about it? I did ask about it once long ago, but I forget exactly how he dodged my question. That's right, I believe he said something like, "Someday perhaps I too will be able to receive a blessing there. But unless a miracle occurs, that day will never come." What does that mean? What would he do in a chapel? He couldn't mean his own funeral, right? I wouldn't believe that of Kinzo-san. He was a man much more focused on the living now than matters occurring after his death. Though this does seem to be a root cause of the current inheritance problem. Then what would he do in a chapel? Pray? Aren't confessions done in a chapel too? Anyway, it sounds suspicious. I don't know the reason, but just as Dr. Nanjo said, in Grandfather's eyes, all this about not being blessed, unless a miracle occurred, was set in stone as far back as his chapel's construction. How do you know that? See, it's clearly written over here. Look, right there. George Aniki pointed to a relief with rusted gold letters on the arch above the door. It looked like some message that had been written here in English. The rust made it clear the message had been there ever since the chapel's construction. I'm not that good with English. What is it? This door is opened only at probability of... Sorry, my English sucks. I gave up after failing to finish even the first of the two lines. It looked like the others could read it properly. I think it went M, B, T, Q. So, how many does that, I think, Anyway, this is incredible. Adding up all the fingers on both hands doesn't even get you close. It really would be impossible unless a miracle occurred. Certainly. It's quite reminiscent of the old Kinzo-san, who loved using gambling as a metaphor whenever he got the chance. Hey, come on, can everyone read it? Someone tell me what it means too. Hehehe. You've got to at least learn English. How did you get into high school without even being able to read this much? Hehehe. Ow. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Mind your own business. So what's written there? Simply put, it means something like this. Unless a miracle occurs, this door will never be opened. Unless a miracle occurs, you will never be blessed. Grandfather's magic is based on astronomically low probabilities. In other words, a miracle for opening this door would probably require an incredibly vast amount of magical power. Hehehe. Ouch. Nice job, you can shut up now. Rosa-san, did you have Maria take English classes? Looks like it's useless to try and learn English unless you start when you're young after all. The sealed chapel, huh? Setting aside whether she was a witch or not, it's rumored that Beatrice actually existed several decades ago, and was grandfather's mistress. This is just my imagination, but perhaps the master truly did love Beatrice-sama. However, he was already married, so they couldn't be united. I see. If Beatrice was dead and could be revived with the magic of a miracle, then now that grandmother's dead, he could marry her openly. And if they married in this chapel, you might end up with a pretty fairy tale-like story, right? I don't think that story is so preposterous. It's a well-known fact that father still loves Beatrice deeply. Also, even though I said I found it creepy, I seem to remember that the interior of the chapel was quite magnificent. The thought that father built this chapel in the hopes of having a wedding with his dead mistress might not be that unlikely. By the time he built this chapel, grandfather probably knew that he would never use it as a church as long as he lived. But he prayed for the witch to be revived by some magic, and he thought that if the miracle occurred, they could be married here. I see. If you think of it that way, this would be a place of utmost significance to Beatrice-sama as well. Even though he knew that chapel would never be opened. It's a story of tragic love. Even though Goda-san was even bigger than me, his words were touching. Everyone was silent, but it seemed that they agreed with that view. Even though he knew it was a chapel never to be opened, he still probably dreamed of the day that a miracle would occur. Kinzo-san was quite the romantic in his younger days. I think I understand how he felt. I wonder. Then again, everyone went in it 4 times a year to clean, right? So much for it being the sealed chapel. Didn't we just go in ourselves? That wasn't a miracle or anything. We brought the key, click, and we're in. That's all. This is ridiculous. Huh? What? Then, what does that mean? What are you talking about? As far as I could tell, I'd just been joking around, finding myself a bit irritated by the sob story this was turning into. But then Aunt Rosa suddenly jumped on me with a really serious face. Aunt Rosa's face grew increasingly pale. She looked at the magic circle on the door, and then at her hand, back and forth, back and forth. What is the matter, Rosa-sama? Hey, Goda-san, the key to this chapel. Didn't Genji-san say it? He said there was only one. Huh? It took you all way too long to figure it out. When a kid pulls a prank, it sometimes goes unnoticed by the adults, and the kid who did it gets all disappointed. If such a prank then gets sprung on someone much later, it can really make a kid's day. Maria's celebration just now looked a lot like that. Yes, that's right. There's only one of those keys. It's the key to the Master's Treasure Chapel, so there's only one with no duplicates. It is normally kept safe in the key box in the servant room, but... That's right. And Genji-san said it had gone missing. So someone stole it, put it in an envelope, and handed it to Maria. And they did it yesterday. What the? So in other words, isn't that strange? That's absurd. This is getting bizarre. What do you mean? I don't have a clue what you're talking about. Me neither. Would you explain it for us? Goda and Nanjo's failure to understand definitely wasn't because they were stupid. They didn't know. They didn't know how long the only key to the chapel had been in Maria's possession. There's no mistake. It was locked up. I unlocked it. There's no doubt. Aunt Rosa kept closing the door, locking it, pulling on it to check the lock, and opening it again. Her face was becoming pale again. Until I took the key out of Maria's envelope and opened this door, it was definitely locked. But this key was in an envelope placed in Maria's care, and that happened yesterday before noon. What did you say? That doesn't make any sense. You're right. Maria received a one-of-a-kind key from a woman calling herself a witch midday yesterday. In other words, from midday yesterday until this morning, when Rosa-san unlocked the door, this chapel was a closed room. How did they get those 6 people in there? And then how did they kill them? The deaths of 6 people had shaken us badly. When we learned about that weird magic circle and the history of the chapel, we felt as though we figured out at least a part of this puzzle out. But that was all absolutely trivial. From midday yesterday until this morning, this chapel was a closed room. Both our parents were with us until last night. But our parents were with us until last night. How did the culprit get into this building? How did they lock it up again? What are you trying to pull? Again? A closed room again? Are you trying to say you unlocked it with the power of magic? Don't take me for a fool. If you're demanding that I show you how to open locks with my magic, I wouldn't mind. But that would be the same as me forcing you to surrender. You keep trying to explain it all with humans. Only when I've cornered all your theories completely will I have my victory. Come on, or come now, how will you undermine my defenses? What trick could a human have used to defeat them, It's just like the closed rooms last time. Not enough information. It's impossible to reason like this. Any excuse could be made, any trick could work. There's no way to reason it out. Ha! That again. There's not enough information, so you'll wait and see. Your information is uncertain, so it's impossible to use your reasoning. Huh. This is always the excuse you humans use to let yourself stop thinking. Who do you think you are, lowly human? Are you saying you can't even think unless you're like Laplace's demon, you incompetent fool? Besides, you make it seem like a lack of information works against you, but it's the other way around, you see. The more information you're given, the more it will make you suffer. It'll only increase the strength of the compressor that's squeezing you. Oh, in that case, let me say this. It's impossible to verify that this is a closed room in the first place. If we're already talking about demons, I can play that game too. It'd be possible to prove that this isn't a closed room. Just show how someone could have gone in or out and you're done. But it's impossible to prove that this is a closed room. You could never deny the endless set of possible methods for getting in. In other words, this is one of those devil's proofs. This concept of a closed room is actually something that can never be proved. So, first you stopped thinking with a lack of information as an excuse, and now this. Very well. If that is your move, then I will accept it. Continue. First off, it looks like you're trying to claim that the chapel's a closed room. Just a short while ago, I spent some time looking around in there, and I couldn't find any way in or out except for the door. But that just means I couldn't find one. It doesn't prove that it was a closed room. If there's a hidden door or something I wasn't able to find, your premise would be blown away completely. In other words, whether I managed to find a hidden door or not, you'll never be able to deny that there existed some method X that lets you into the closed room. And this method X would be something that could be carried out without magic. After all, it's a hidden door. I'm sure that in this chapel there's some hidden door that's impossible to find. That's why there's no reason for me to reason it out, and magic is still impossible. Oh, so you'll use that logic. How naive. An expected move. Let me make my move in response. These closed rooms, used in detective novels made by mere humans, always seem utterly ridiculous to me. Why? Because they're used the wrong way. When a closed room appears in a detective novel, do you really think it's a closed room? You don't, do you? What trick did they use to make this look like a closed room? That's what you think. In other words, there hasn't been a completed closed room in any of the closed room murders the humans have built over the last century. Oh, better not say that unless you want to face the wrath of mystery fans. Christie's probably grinding her teeth in her grave. Huh, but I am different. I have given birth to a true closed room, and I can demonstrate it. Why? Because I'm a witch. For the devil's proof, you only had to bring someone a demon to prove that they exist, right? Well, I conveniently happen to be a witch, meaning that demons are my good friends, and I can bring you as many of them as you like. Sounds great. Dad and the rest used a hidden door to enter the chapel and were carried in through it. How do you plan to beat that move? With this. Regardless of whether they were alive or dead, the six definitely entered through the door. Huh? Dumbass. The door was locked, so how'd they do it? I opened it with magic and invited them inside. That can't be true. Since I can't accept magic, there's no way I'll accept that. You're lying. That door can be opened with some trick. Or maybe there's a hidden door, but I won't accept any other way. Perpetual check. That's what we call an endless repetition of moves in chess. It's the same endless repetition as a discussion that won't advance because both sides deny the basis of each other's claims, like our game. In most games, this will be resolved as a draw, but that would put a terrible damper on our fun. We will have no draws. You will either accept me and submit to me, or you will deny me. At least I agree with you there. We'll settle this without fail, just as you wish. I like that attitude. So I have a thought. I think I'll add a new rule to this game between the two of us. A new rule? I'll bet it's something that'll give you an advantage, right? Of course not. I'll give you the thing people like you always demand. The reason you always stop thinking and then moan about it is a lack of information. And if you are then given information, you start doubting whether the information is true or not by rejecting the source. Isn't that convenient? What clever little words to hide your own incompetence. I'm offering to eliminate that convenience excuse of yours. You should thank me. You said they entered through the door, and I said that couldn't happen. Are you calling that an evasive answer? Exactly. So from now on, when I speak the truth, I will use red. What is this? Keep explaining. No matter what magical move I use, you can always keep running away by chanting lack of information and by rejecting the source. Even though I would still win in the end that way, it would be extremely boring. Because of that, I'll be happy to give you the information and sources you so desire. However, you'll probably doubt each word I say. That isn't bad in itself. I also will use every possible move to make you submit. I don't dislike our posture of searching out our best moves for our own goals. But that won't make a game. So I set up this rule. Everything I speak in red is the truth. She's letting Paddler see words now, apparently. There's absolutely no need to doubt it. The anime does an interesting thing. When they speak in red in anime, like the entire screen gets like a red filter on it, and then the words like materialize in midair and swirl about them. It's kind of neat how they adapted that in the anime. Are you telling me to believe that? This is a game between you and me. In a game, the rules are sacred. Those who take that lightly are not qualified to play. Okay, I get you. I'll accept that rule. Even an elementary school kid can get into an endless argument and find fault with everything. Now let's start it up again, continuing where we left off. I'll say it one more time. Dad and the rest used a hidden door to enter the chapel and were carried in through it. Then I shall repeat what I said. Regardless of whether they were alive or dead, the 6 definitely entered through the door. Is there any proof? Stop. I will supplement the rule. When I speak the truth, I will use red. And when I do, I will not bear the responsibility of establishing that claim by showing proof. They will simply be facts and the truth. My reason is simple. I carried out all the crimes with magic. So for any impossible crime, all I have to do is wave my magic staff and show you how it's done. But that wouldn't make a game. It would be as barbaric as ignoring victory and defeat in a chess match and punching your opponent in the face. Well, that makes sense. Since you're a witch, there's no need for you to show evidence for what happened. Since you can do anything with magic, damn it. Talk about an unfair game. So shall we resume once more? The 6 definitely entered through the door. I unlocked it with magic. How will you get around this closed room? The key. Genji-san and the others said there was only one key, but that's impossible to prove. The culprit secretly made a duplicate key. Only one key to the chapel exists. Then what about this? The culprit made something other than a legitimate key and opened it. I don't know what, but maybe a wire. A tool for picking locks. What is this naive move? It is impossible to unlock the lock to the chapel with anything but the chapel's key. Although it can be opened with the power of magic, right? And what about this? There's something wrong with the door itself. There was some way to pass through it even while it was locked. As to what that is, I can think of a few ways. Maybe it's like those big doors on a castle that have a smaller door in them. It's also possible that they removed the hinges and then removed the whole door before entering. Is this the best a century of human wisdom can manage, Battler? When the door to the chapel is locked, it prevents any and all methods of entry or exit. Assuming you can't use magic, right? Is it about time for checkmate? Not even close. You said those 6 people entered through a door, but you didn't say it was the front door. They might have entered through another door, a secret one. You talk too much, you incompetent fool. Now let me expand on my earlier move. The 6 definitely entered through this front door. That's screwed up. The door was locked. It was impossible to unlock without using that single key, and yet 6 people entered through it. How? With magic, you say? Damn it. Damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it. Are we already seeing the limits of what humanity can manage? Then shout that as you resign. When one admits defeat, it's customary to shout out and knock over their own king. So do you resign? Then announce your surrender and knock your king over by kneeling. Then you may kiss my shoes. There can be no greater joy than forcing a man like you to lick my shoes. Damn it. It's useless, useless, useless. So I can't win against the witch? This isn't chess at all. I've just been made to take the losing side in a chess puzzle. Is quibbling about details and getting a draw the best I can manage? That's the one thing that'll never happen. Either I will surrender or you will. There can be no other resolution. What happened to that bravery you displayed when you said this would be torture for us both? Hey, what a disappointment, what a total letdown. Wouldn't you say, Ushimiya Battler? Damn it, what should I do? What should I do? I can see it, I can see the place where I'll face checkmate. It's useless. All my hard-fought moves have been nothing more than me desperately moving my king around, running away from check. No matter how many times I move, I can't escape from check. So even without waiting for the next several moves, I can see checkmate in my future. Ah, damn it! After a few more moves, I can see where I'll face checkmate. Don't give up, Ushimi Battler. If I can see myself getting closed in upon, then if I spin the chessboard around, I should be able to anticipate her next move, right? Remember what Kirie-san said. When you're thinking about something, then the closer you get to the very, very end, the easier it becomes to anticipate. Spin it around. Spin the chessboard around. So basically, like again, this is a visual novel with no actual gameplay. The gameplay comes into you, the viewer, are also trying to figure out the mystery alongside Battler, and the red text is part of the game. So basically, you should be keeping track of what is said in red, and use those as clues to rule out what could have happened and what could not have happened. And upon Beatrice saying them, it sounds impossible, but then that's where you have to use your, like, out-of-the-box kind of critical thinking. And as we play through more of these visual novels, more and more red text gets added to the rules, and you can start compounding your theory together. It's basically how it's supposed to work. Does that make sense? It's really fascinating. It's really fascinating. What happened? You fell silent all of a sudden. Fear not. Surrender is but a momentary shame. Does the red text stay the same across all episodes? Yes and no. The red text will apply to all of them, but because the scenario is different in each one, some of them are specific to a single episode, and some of them apply across all of them again. So it's kind of like a mix of both of them. So it's more like if this red text applies, it is true. Otherwise, it is not applicable in this particular game. So for example, the first episode did not have the chapel at all. So the red text about the first 6 corpses going through the door of the chapel does not apply in the first game. But the red text of Beatrice saying, everything I say in red is true, applies across all the games. So it kind of depends on the situation, but they are always true for that episode, if not for the whole thing. Yeah, it's a really tough mystery to crack. After that, all that remains is the joy of entrusting your fate entirely to the hands of your new master. Come on, cry out in resignation. I can't hear you. Speak up and say it clearly. Enough babbling. You're just refusing to listen. So I'll say it once more. I won't resign. Continue. Resume the game. Huh. Very well. It is your turn, after all. I made the mistake of thinking this rule you made was your own weapon. However, I've realized it can also become a weapon for me. It all comes down to this. Please do give it a try. I've been focusing all this time on how they entered the closed room of the chapel. That approach was useless. It's useless. It's all useless. Spin the chessboard around. That's right. I was thinking about it backwards. This is how I should approach it. How was the chapel, which wasn't a closed room in the first place, made to look like a closed room? Here it comes. That thinking technique humans gave birth to over the course of a century. Give it a try. Say this in red for me. If you can't, then refuse. Here I go. Does this man intend to reverse his defensive posture? Impudence. I get that the only way to enter the chapel is through the door, and that there's only one key. But wait, the question is whether that key really was handed over to Maria yesterday before noon. My, but you're dragging this on. Do try to get to the point. It's something like this. We've been under the impression that the key's been unusable since midday yesterday. So we've assumed that this was a closed room from midday yesterday until this morning. I want to hear you say that this impression of ours is a solid fact. Interesting. So you turn your reasoning not to the door, but to the key. Yesterday, Maria received an envelope from you. She didn't open it, but she might have felt it and known there was a key inside. But it's not like she'd been able to confirm absolutely that it was the key to the chapel. Here's what I'm getting at. The thing inside the envelope given to Maria was a fake. If you think about what you're saying, it's ridiculous. This morning, Rosa definitely took an envelope out of Maria's handbag, and from that obtained the genuine key to the chapel. It wasn't a fake, as you suggested. Huh. I know that much. I'll continue. In that case, when Maria first received the envelope, the thing inside it was definitely the same key to the chapel, right? Huh. See what I'm getting at? Midday yesterday, you gave Maria an envelope with a key inside, and you told her that she mustn't open it. Maria probably realized it had a key inside. Later on, Aunt Rosa used that thing inside the envelope to open the door to the chapel. And that's why we assumed it was the key to the chapel all along. This is the suspicious part. So this is what you're trying to say. That when I entrusted Maria with a key, that key was a fake. And then, by the time Rosa obtained it, it had been switched with the real thing. Yeah, that's it. What's wrong, Beatrice-sama? You've been looking a bit pale for a while now, huh? Those close to me sometimes call me Bito. Bito will do. It's your turn, Bito. In the Japanese version, because her name is pronounced Beatrice, then they call her Beato. The turn of the Golden Witch. Let's see you dodge this. Very well. The key to the chapel truly was the object inside the envelope I gave Maria. I'll move forward. Can you repeat it in red? That envelope was completely under Maria's supervision until Aunt Rosa opened it. If you can't say it, then say you refuse. Check. Ugh. I refuse. I spun it around with just one move. Now it's your king on the run, Bito. Huh. I have a reason for refusing. It regards the definition of the phrase, under her supervision. In its purest meaning, Maria would need to have her eyes on it around the clock for that to be true. But Maria didn't go that far. It may have been completely under her supervision when she took it out of her handbag, but after she put it inside, it disappeared from her field of vision. In that sense, the phrase, under her supervision, would be inappropriate, so I couldn't use the red. Nothing more. Yeah. I'll bet that move hurt, and your face tells me you've guessed the next one. Sorry. I'm kind to women. I don't hurt them. And I never betray a woman's expectations. It's time for you to repeat it in red if you think you can. No one was able to touch Maria's handbag until Aunt Rosa took out the envelope. I will also refuse this one. I won't explain the reason. That's wrong. It's not that you won't explain it, it's that you can't explain it. That move gives us a checkmate, doesn't it? Ugh. If you can't do it, then I'll explain. The key to the chapel really was in the envelope you handed to Maria. Then Maria put it in her handbag, and the next morning Aunt Rosa took it out and opened the lock. However, Maria didn't have the handbag under her complete supervision. There's no need for magic. It's a closed room trick that's possible for a human. The human culprit handed Maria the key, and by making Aunt Rosa use it the next morning, they created the illusion that there was a closed room during that time. You can't deny the possibility that during that time, the culprit took the key from Maria's handbag, used it, and returned it by morning. Can you say it in red? Repeat it. If you can say it, then say it. It's check again. Objection! Not yet. I will remove the check. The envelope with the key in it should have been sealed with wax. Rosa took it from an unopened envelope. Really? Then try saying it. Repeat it. The envelope handed over midday yesterday and one Aunt Rosa opened are the same. That I can repeat. The envelope I handed over to Maria and the one Rosa opened are the same thing. Ha! Ugh, it's useless, it's all useless. That doesn't even matter anymore. I expected more from you. I figured that if you were a bit better at reading between the lines, you'd resign right there. So I'm disappointed. You've betrayed my expectations. What? Who cares if the envelopes were the same? Envelopes can be sealed with wax over and over. The key inside is what's important. This time it's all over, Golden Witch. It's a real checkmate. I'll say it one more time. Repeat it. If you can say it, try saying it. The key to the chapel inside the envelope Maria received wasn't used even once until Aunt Rosa opened the envelope. How could I? Against a lowly human. I'll keep on saying it, Beatrice. Repeat it. The key to the chapel inside the envelope Maria received wasn't used even once until Aunt Rosa opened the envelope. If you're gonna yell, then say you resign. This settles it. This is the truth. Before Aunt Rosa obtained Maria's key this morning, at one point it passed to someone else's hands. Then, they used it, resealed it, and returned it to Maria's handbag, making it look like it hadn't been used. This is a trick with a cheap loophole, the assumption that the key wasn't used because the sealing wax wasn't opened. Checkmate. There's no magic and there's nothing more than a trick that's possible for humans. In that case, who do you say stole the key? Try answering. This time, you try repeating it. That's right, I'm making you repeat things all the time. I probably have to answer every once in a while. But I refuse. My condition for victory is denying a witch's existence. I'll prove that this impossible crime, done with your magic, was actually possible by human hands. I smashed your clothes room with something possible even for humans. However, I won't specifically investigate who the culprit is. Because I believe in humans. Because I definitely won't accept that there's a person among us who would steal a key from Maria, use it, and do something so horrible. I give up. I resign. Just once for this little skirmish, I'll give up. But you really are naive, Battler. Parting remarks are a loser's privilege. Say as many as you like. Since you continue to deny my existence, you will eventually be cornered. After all, since you deny me, you'll have to suspect those relatives you can't stop loving. In the last moment when you have to suspect one who is beloved to you, then you will surely accept my existence. True, you have defeated me in this skirmish alone. However, that naive logic will definitely destroy you. You can't win against me after all. Ushimiya Battler. Hey, BP, Syndicate Girl, welcome to the stream. Yeah, it's the world's most ambiguously magical game of 20 questions. But again, I think you're starting to see where this game starts to pick up, where you got to see like some of the more magical moments mixing with reality. We get to see like these Ace Attorney type arguments and evidence come up. It's really, really interesting the way that they do it. Rosa and the rest returned from the chapel to the parlor in the mansion. Oh yeah, and also the music is amazing. So many things had happened since early in the morning. Of course, they were high-strung. Adler and George, who had cried, raged, and let their emotions explode after seeing their parents' tragic bodies, returned to the parlor and sat in the sofas, dazed as though everything up until then had been a lie. Only Maria was completely unchanged and looked just like normal. When she wasn't playing pranks, she was basically a kid who played wordlessly by herself. So even if she was dazed, she would probably look just as she did. But as she turned on the TV and flipped through the channels, it looked as though nothing about her had changed from normal. Did Rosa think anything in particular about this attitude, which was clearly different from normal people? She stared at Maria's back as though looking at something that wasn't quite heartwarming. Eventually, Kumasawa came to say good morning. Her cheerful manner was clearly out of place, and she couldn't help but be bewildered by the strange atmosphere in the room. Then when she heard the details from Goda, she reacted loudly with shock. Oh, Of course you've contacted the police, right? What should we do in a time like this? Oh, what should we do? Please stay calm and listen. It seems a machine somewhere was somehow done in by lightning last night. Because of that, we haven't been able to use the phones. What? Then until the typhoon passes, we can't even contact the police. Maybe Kumasawa's exaggerated surprise was a little comical. Even in this kind of situation, Rosa giggled. Because of that, the fog of confusion that had covered her head cleared up a little. I've got to stay strong. It's not just Maria. I'm acting as a parent for George-kun and Badler-kun too, so I have to stay strong. Rosa had been the youngest sibling, with a large difference in age between her and the others. So she had always been treated as a child. Every time she learned something new, it was something obvious to her siblings. And she had built up a complex, becoming convinced of her own incompetence. So she had developed a passive personality, asking her siblings for advice every time something happened. But she no longer had any brothers or sisters. Now Rosa was the only one of the 4 Ushimiya siblings left. Furthermore, if Kinzo continued to shut himself away, even in this extraordinary situation, Rosa would have to surpass this crisis as the head's representative. So it's kind of interesting, the first episode had Natsui kind of being the leader, and then in this one it's Rosa. Again, because the scenarios differ in each one, we get to see different facets of some of the characters that we didn't get a chance to before. Not a child anymore. Not a child. Rosa slapped her knees lightly and stood up. She must not wait for orders now. She had to start moving herself. She picked up the receiver of the extension phone on the side table. Then she immediately remembered that the phones were down. Genji and Shannon, whom she had sent to see Kinzo, hadn't returned yet. She had a good guess at what was going on. He was probably yelling something nonsensical again and becoming unmanageable. His precious chapel had been defiled with blood. That was easy to imagine. She had planned on using the extension phone to call the study, but unfortunately the phones were down. Rosa decided to go to the study directly with her own 2 feet. Her old self would have been too frightened to go see Kinzo. And in fact, if she did meet him, she probably would be blamed somehow and insulted. But this was no time to be frightened. As his true daughter, she had to make him aware of the current situation. Kumasawa-san, I'm going to see father. Take special care of George-kun and Badler-kun. I'm sure they're on edge right now. Yes, that may be true. It is truly pitiable. I shall make them something warm to drink. Thank you. Rosa went out into the hallway and headed towards Kinzo's study. The atmosphere in this mansion, which she'd spent her younger days in and should have been full of memories, seemed somehow different. She began to climb the stairs in the entrance hall. Just then, in the faint darkness down the stairs behind Rosa's back, something glowed. It was a single fluttering gold butterfly. It fluttered around and sparkled. That butterfly danced about without a sound. It was only natural. No one can hear the sound of a butterfly's wings beating. And then it came to rest on Rosa's back as she slowly climbed the stairs. Rosa didn't notice it. If someone not in the know saw it, they'd probably assume it was just a single sheet of gold leaf in the shape of a butterfly that had been stuck there. Without noticing a thing, Rosa continued heading towards Kinzo's study. So, how will you entertain me with this next one? There are still many, many pieces left. In the parlor, which had fallen silent again, the only sound was that of the TV that Maria was watching alone. If there was anything audible besides that, it was the sound of the rain which had continued on and on since the previous night. Every one of those who had witnessed that unearthly and horrible scene stayed silent, as though praying that the events of that morning had all been a dream. Because Kumasawa alone hadn't seen it, her reaction was slightly different. The silence itself seemed more unbearable to her, and she was anxious to encourage everyone somehow. However, she was unaware that she must avoid saying anything careless, and she seemed to be pondering about how she could be most helpful. Normally, it would be time for breakfast. However, possibly because something so outrageous had happened, Goda seemed to have forgotten to prepare a meal. Or maybe everyone was so beaten up that they'd forgotten their hunger. It's kind of jarring how the witch's cackle audio clip compares to the rest of the game's audio design. The sound of Beatrice cackling is a sound effect that had carried over from the original visual novel. So the very original visual novel had the music, of course. The music's the same. And the sound effects. But the only extra sound effects besides that was Beatrice's laugh. Or rather, it's the witch's laugh because it's used by multiple witches in the game. And like other sounds like the sound of like the stakes, the 7 stakes of purgatory bouncing off the walls and stabbing someone like we saw with Canon and Jessica earlier. So I assume that they actually kept those through all iterations of the game, including the PS3 version and the Steam version, as to remain faithful to the original source material. So that might be why the cackle seems a little bit out of place. It's kind of charming, but also, I don't know, it's very recognizable. Anyone who knows this visual novel will recognize that sound. Kumasawa wanted to bring up the subject of what they should do for breakfast, but it didn't seem like the right atmosphere, so she really couldn't. She really was hungry, so she casually made a proposal. It seems everyone is tired after all that has happened. In times like this, I think the best thing is to heat yourself with some warm black tea. Indeed, that is an excellent plan. I agree as well. Oh, how about some delicious black tea with biscuits and jam? Ah yes, I hear Halloween will be here soon, and we have some delicious looking pumpkin-shaped cookies on the shelf. Kumasawa-san, that's, Of course, she has said the wrong thing. She had reminded Battler and the rest about that horrible and tragic Halloween party in the chapel. Nanjo hurriedly whispered into Kumasawa's ear. Battler-san, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to upset you, truly I didn't. No, don't worry about it. I'll definitely turn this boiling anger back on the culprit. I wonder if that culprit is still on the island. Probably. At least until the typhoon passes, no boat will come. Yes, that's true. After all, the boats stop coming even when it's just a little windy. They certainly wouldn't come during a typhoon yet. It creeps me out. You think so, Aniki? Me too. And that's even putting aside whether the culprit's that mystery guest or not. Indeed. We've naturally suspected that the mysterious guest who calls herself Beatrice, we still cannot be certain she is the culprit. There's still the possibility she's a victim whose corpse still hasn't been found. When I think of it that way, there's something I just can't understand. What do you mean by that? It's simple. It's just like Kumasawa Ba-chan said a short while ago. Right now, this island is right in the middle of a typhoon, and escape is impossible. The same thing goes for the culprit. In that case, having the crime come to light should have been the thing the culprit wanted to avoid most. I see. So there was no need to draw that creepy magic circle on the entrance to the chapel and show off the fact that the corpses were there. Yes, that's it. And if they were able to take the time and effort to do something so horrible to those 6 people, it should have been possible for them to hide the 6 corpses where they'd be impossible to find. I agree. The brutal Halloween party probably wasn't directed at those who died. It was directed at the people who would eventually discover it. Us. It's probably safe to say that the magic circle was there to help us find it. The culprit knows they won't be able to escape from this island for a while, yet they acted as though they wanted to make us find the corpses in the middle of this typhoon. What does it mean? If I were the culprit, I definitely wouldn't play around and make us find the bodies. Beatrice-sama was not in her room, and the room did not seem particularly disturbed. I know, Milady did disturb it quite a lot, though. Come to think of it, what happened to Jessica? Canon-san is looking after her. They are probably in Milady's room. That isn't good. The culprit is definitely still on the island. In this situation, I don't believe it's a very good idea to isolate ourselves in small numbers. What do you mean by that? You don't mean to say that the culprit plans to kill all of us? Let us remain calm. That is not yet certain. But unfortunately, we can't deny that the possibility exists. This letter was in the chapel. According to this, the culprit is the witch. And if we don't solve the riddle of grandfather's epitaph and find the gold, they'll massacre the whole family or something like that. Is that true? Would you allow me to read it as well? Eeh! As they read the witch's letter, Goda, Kumasawa, and Nanjo's faces grew even paler than they had been. Kumasawa could no longer hide her shaking. If you don't want to die, try finding grandfather's hidden gold. Is that it? Screwing around with us. I'll bet she can't solve the riddle, so she's trying to make us solve it. However, I wonder what the truth is. Madame always stated that the legend of the gold was nothing more than an illusion created by the master. It is doubtful whether it actually existed. True. Supposedly they thought it would be nice if it did exist, but only half believed it. The relatives started believing in the legend of the gold only after Kinzo's health worsened and the inheritance problem came up. Until then, hardly anyone believed in it, I understand. Oh, so maybe that's why. Do you remember? On the table in the chapel, there were 3 gold ingots. That alone would be worth quite a lot. Doesn't that prove that the legend of the gold was real? Excuse me, please wait. Just now, did you say there were 3 gold bars? Yeah, there were definitely 3 of them piled up. So what? I happened to hear Kraus-sama say something once. Yes, I just happened to hear it, you see. It's not like I was trying to listen in on secret discussions, no indeed. Don't worry about that now. So then what? Is there something wrong with there being 3 of those gold bars? Yes. According to Kraus-sama, there was only 1 bar ever found to support the legend of the gold. That is correct. I believe Kinzo-san showed the president of Marusu a mountain of gold and let him take 1 bar back with him, or so the story goes. That 1 bar came to be Kraus-sama's possession, and he said that no other gold supporting the master's legend of the gold existed. You're talking about Uncle Kraus here, so what does that mean? No, wait, 3? Wait. Where did they come from? That's too many, right? Perhaps there is another explanation. Maybe the other relatives also found 1 each, and they each brought 1 of them there. No, I cannot believe that. When all the relatives came to the island, I was entrusted with their luggage. I did not feel a suspicious weight back then. I think those would weigh about 10 kilograms. If that much weight was in their bags, even I would notice. But it didn't seem that way. Same here. At the most, there were some changes of clothes, first aid kit, Kirie's-san's makeup, stuff like that, I think. Aunt Rosa's luggage also looks pretty light. In that case, those 3 piled up gold bars were being shown to them. Or maybe to us. The legend of the gold is definitely real. It isn't an illusion. They're telling us to try and find out the secret if we can. Could they be scheming to have us solve the epitaph, which points to where the gold is hidden, and then try to snatch it away? Yeah, that does make some sense. But there are a couple of parts that don't fit. To start, our parents, who should have been the most likely to solve the epitaph, were killed first. That seems to create a contradiction right off the bat to me. And something else makes even less sense. If the legend of the gold is actually true, then how were they able to pile up all that gold? It's almost like the culprits already found the gold, and is telling us to try and find it too. Maybe the culprit found those 3 like Uncle Kraus did. Maybe that convinced them the legend is true, and they're trying to make us search for the rest. I think that way fits the best. The pieces on the chessboard aren't lined up at all. We don't have a clue what the culprit is planning, what they want, or what they plan to make us do. Is there any point? No matter what we think, is there anything we can figure out right now? Hehe. It was written down. What she wanted to make us do. Couldn't anyone read it? Hehe. Maria suddenly laughed in a creepy voice. I thought she'd been concentrating on the TV, but apparently she'd been listening in too. Without turning away from the TV, she simply told us what we were forgetting. Beatrice hasn't once said that she wants the gold. All she's asking is whether you're all capable of solving the epitaph's riddle or not. Though I'll bet she's pretty sure you could never do it. Hehehe. Right? The creepy smiles in this game are really good. They look they don't look as good in the original artwork, but they do such a good job in like the anime, the manga, PS3 version, even the pachinko version. And you can really tell that influence from Higurashi, because Higurashi is famous for the creepy faces on the girls, right? So are you saying you can solve it, Maria? I don't care. After all, she'll take me to the Golden Land, so I won't get in Beatrice's way. Hehehe. Ouch. In any case, it looks like we'll have to ask Maria if we want to learn anything more. Maria, tell us. Who is this Beatrice? What is she planning? Hehe. You know, Beatrice is a witch. She can do anything with her strange powers. The power of magic can do anything. It can create gold or bread. And of course, it can create sweets too, right? You saw it, didn't you? Hehehe. Yeah, I can't imagine this as a pachinko game. I only found out about the pachinko game because the Steam version of the game uses inferior artwork. And I was like, where did this come from? They couldn't possibly have taken the time to make new artwork when artwork already existed. And then someone said it was from a pachinko game. And I literally scoured the internet and I couldn't find anything about the pachinko game except for a couple select like AMV cutscenes. But the AMV cutscenes are like artwork, right? They're like still images. They're not talking head portraits. But apparently it was like pachinko games, because you know pachinko games are big in Japan, and the pachinko games had screens that played out scenes from this visual novel. And I thought that it sounded like it was only like select scenes, like maybe like important scenes. But then I'm starting to think maybe it was the entire visual novel just played on the scenes all the time, but that's freaking long, right? No one has time to stand around an arcade watching all of that, so I really have no idea about the pachinko games. And the art is just so much more inferior. Everyone looks kind of weird. So it's kind of unfortunate that the Steam version of the game just has the pachinko art. And that's why luckily the fan base had this patch ready and available to patch it with the nice PS3 console art. At that time, everyone jumped at the sound of a door being slammed shut. When we turned around, we saw that Rosa had suddenly returned, bringing Genji and Shannon. Then she rapidly approached Maria, her heel squeaking, and hit her on the cheek. Stop talking about that. Adlerka and the rest will take it badly. Without waiting for a response, she hit Maria's cheek once more. Everyone could only stand there, stunned. I don't know what means. What about yes? She mercilessly hit Maria's cheek again. Maybe Maria didn't feel like resisting after being hit twice. She weakly said yes. Rosa-san, there's no need to be so rash or harsh. This is my daughter's education. Do not interrupt. The atmosphere around Rosa, with Genji and Shannon standing at attention behind her, was somehow cold, yet dignified. Completely different from how she had seemed before she left. She was holding something that looked like a gun. I couldn't imagine that she'd be holding a toy in this situation. Aunt Rosa, what is this? This is Father's. Because of the current situation, I borrowed it, specially. Everyone should understand. The culprit is still nearby. We don't know what might happen. I agree. Rather than trying to figure out what the culprit is planning, it might be better to first think about our own safety. Father was fine, but he was considerably shaken by these sudden events. Fortunately, he said he won't leave his room, so he should be safe. For now, we should all try to stay together as much as possible. I agree. We don't even know where the culprit's hiding, and after all, there's no proof that there's only one of them. Even though I said it myself, I shivered. That's right. Could a single person kill 6 people and set up such a horrible scene all alone? Isn't it natural to assume that this crime was carried out by multiple culprits? I agree with Rosa-san. It probably is good for us to stay together. Yes, I think it's good too, yes. Maybe it's about time we called for Milady and Canon-san. That's right. Let's have them come down. George Aniki tried to grab the extension phone, but Goda-san shook his head. That's right, the phones are down right now, aren't they? I'll go with a couple people. If George Aniki and Goda-san come too, that should be enough. No, let's all go together. It's a wolves and sheep puzzle. If we're in balance while gathered together like this, then maintaining this situation will be safest. A wolves and sheep puzzle? I've got it. I'll show you. Maria, turn off the television. Genji-san, please tell me where Jessica-chan's room is. Let's all go together. Yes, I will guide you. Come on, everyone. We'll move together. Follow my instructions. We stood up. Maria alone looked like she had some regrets about the TV, but she decided to go along with everyone for now and got up. Shannon, thank goodness. I was a bit worried when you took so long to get back. I am sorry to have worried you. The master ordered me to transcribe something for him. Transcribe? Shannon. I'm sorry, excuse me. We headed for Jessica's room with the armed Aunt Rosa and Genji-san in the lead. Jessica and Kanin-kun were a boy and a girl of about the same age. It sure be a shame if we barged in on them at a bad time, or at least that's what we'd be joking about normally. However, Aunt Rosa was on edge, constantly exuding a sense of tension. So it definitely wasn't that sort of atmosphere for careless remarks like that. Hey, don't fall behind. Everyone move together. We don't know when or where the culprit might leap out at us, right? No, maybe Aunt Rosa's attitude was more appropriate. Since Grandfather hadn't come down, Aunt Rosa was our leader. This wasn't a situation where she could smile as she always did. And Aunt Rosa was a mother too. She probably also thought that, if she didn't get a hold of herself, some harm might befall her beloved daughter. The culprit had killed 6 of our parents at once. The method they had used was unknown, but there was a good chance his opponent could take down a large number of people in a flash. Would that be with weapons or with numbers? Or with the magic of a witch? In any case, I couldn't think of any reason why it'd be okay to let our guards down. The rest of us had better take much, much greater care, just like Aunt Rosa. Everyone stop! Aunt Rosa spoke in a sharp voice. Wondering what this was all about, we peered forwards, and immediately realized the reason. What is this? Eeh! Everyone get back! Goda-san and Genji-san approached the door. Beyond this door was probably Jessica's room. This seems to be the same paint that was scribbled on the door to the chapel. It appears so. It appears not much time has passed since it was drawn. What the heck? Is that another magic circle? It's the first magic circle of the moon. It has the power to open unopening doors. Drawn on the door to Jessica's room was the same kind of creepy scribble that had been drawn on the door to the chapel. That strange pattern must have had some occult meaning. But it didn't matter what that meaning was. We were worried about whether those two were okay. That doesn't matter. Are Jessica-chan and Kanin-kun safe? This does not bode well. We should quickly bring those two downstairs. Milady! Milady? Are you there? Please answer. Goda-san knocked violently and yelled, but there was no answer. He gripped the doorknob with a clatter, but the lock just resisted him. Rosa-sama, it seems to be locked. There's no helping it. Please open it up. Genji nodded, and Goda quickly unlocked the door with the master key. In the back of my mind, horrible images floated up and disappeared one after another. A magic circle had been drawn on the door to the chapel. Behind that lay 6 corpses. So if there's a magic circle drawn on the door to Jessica's room, then beyond it must be... Jessica-sama! What happened? Is she there? Jessica, what happened? It was truly heartless. The expression on Goda-san's face and his cry as he opened the door prepared us for the brutal fate that Jessica had met even before we saw her. Everyone rushed into Jessica's room at once. That scene told everyone that their worst fears were spot on. Jessica! How horrible. Dr. Nanjo. Inside the room, which seemed inelegant for the bedroom of one so young, Jessica lay crumpled on the ground. There was a large pool of blood on the floor. And there was a knife or something sticking deep into her back. Was it a knife? There was a design on the handle that just had to symbolize something demonic. It had to be a weapon with some kind of occult meaning. This is horrible. She has passed away. This has probably reached her lungs. Not much time has passed since she died. Jessica! Damn it, damn it! Adler-sama. I was naive. I knew it. Since the culprit couldn't escape the island, they were definitely close by. So why didn't I get cautious sooner? I was naive. I just assumed that a culprit would commit their crime and just sneak away and hide. We were stunned then. We thought Jessica-chan giving in to rage and running off was just something that couldn't be helped. But we were naive. We should have stopped her. Goda-san, why did you leave those two alone? If only you had been with them, something like this. No, that is, I said it was dangerous, so we should return. It's just that Milady said she wanted to be alone. Kanen-san told me to leave it to him, and... Speaking of which, where is Kanen-san? That's right. What in the world happened to Kanen-kun? Kanen-kun? Where? Kanen-san should have been with Milady. Where in the world did he go? You don't think they got him? Quiet. Someone might be hiding in this room. Search under the bed and in the closet. There was a chance that Kanen-kun's corpse had been pushed away somewhere. At Rosa-san's order, everyone searched through the room together. But there wasn't a single human hiding anywhere. He's nowhere. Could the culprit have taken him out of the room? Then we'll have to search for him quickly and save him. If we're slow, something awful might happen. Aunt Rosa, let's search all over the mansion. Let's search for the culprit. Let's save Kanen-kun. Quiet. When Aunt Rosa yelled at us, we felt instantly silent. She was probably contemplating something. However, what in the world could that be? Aunt Rosa walked around the room as though looking for something, or as though she was collecting her thoughts. Then she found something on the side table by the bed and picked it up. If anyone knows, tell me. Which key is this? Aunt Rosa showed everyone a key with a cute mascot attached to it. Judging from its cute appearance, I didn't doubt it was Jessica's key, but I had no way of knowing for sure. It is probably the key to this room, to Milady's room. After hearing that, Aunt Rosa made a point of going outside the door and checking. Without a doubt, it was the key to this room. I wonder why it was set in a place like this. Wouldn't you normally keep such an important key in your pocket? Milady wasn't in the habit of locking her room. It seems she would only do it when she went to school, because she didn't want someone like Kraus-sama to look inside her room. I see. She wasn't at school, so it's natural that Jessica-chan would set the key down here. How many keys can open this door? Just the one Milady had. Can't it be opened with your master keys? They can open it. How many master keys are there? Are all of the servants holding them? Are there extras? Yes, we all have one. As for extras, I wonder. There used to be several, but Madame scolded us harshly, saying that it was careless, so they should have been dealt with. That is correct. There is only one held by each servant. There are no more. Huh. Wait a second. I think we talked about extra master keys in the last game, right? Indeed. Well, regarding that, I have noticed that having several master keys whose locations are unknown is quite disadvantageous for me. That's probably right. Since you want to make me believe in magic using closed rooms, it'd really hurt you if there were more master keys than we thought. After all, every time a trick involving locks shows up, I plan to resist by arguing that the culprit had a master key that someone lost in the past or a duplicate. Yes, that's correct. So I've decided to make a move to defeat that. I'll update our setting. The only master keys are the ones held by the servants and one key each. Messing with me. More importantly, what kind of move is this? What's Aunt Rosa talking about? Who knows? You should try listening in. Thank you. I have the situation sorted out. And I've been able to pinpoint the culprit, who assaulted Jessica-chan, or at least one of their accomplices. What did you say? Who is it? Aunt Rosa, you don't mean Canon-kun, do you? Huh? What? Why Canon-kun? This room was locked, and the only keys that could unlock it are the master keys held by each servant and the key Jessica had. But Jessica-chan's key was closed up in here, which means it's only possible that one of the master keys locked this room up. It is as you say. In that case, someone killed Jessica, then locked the door. That person had a master key. And there are only 5 people with master keys. Oh my! It wasn't me, not me! No, I could never do such a thing. Kumasawa-san got up late. After we returned from the chapel to the parlor, we did meet you there, but it's impossible to prove where you were and what you were doing until that time. You watched us from the shadows, chased after Jessica-chan and Canon-kun when they were isolated, and stealthily attacked them. Are you saying I visited Milady's room? And did something so horrible? I did no such thing. Yes, no such thing. What about you, Goda-san? You said you left Jessica-chan in Canon-kun's care and returned. But I wonder if that's true. Maybe you actually killed the 2 of them, hid Canon-kun's corpse, and then came back with an innocent look on your face. Nothing of the sort happened. I, Goda, swear that I did not do anything like that. It wasn't us. We were following the master's orders and... Yes, you and Genji-san alone are clean. That's backed up by what I heard from Father. The 2 of you were in Father's room the whole time, transcribing and witnessing for him. Father and I can guarantee that. Thank you very much. In that case, the argument becomes, who is more suspicious, Goda-san or Kumasawa-san? I thought that myself right after entering this room, but still I found it strange. Look at the state of Jessica-chan's body. Doesn't everyone think it's strange? Strange, you say? Jessica-chan was struck in the back. Come on, they say it all the time, right? That in crimes where the victim is struck in the back, there's a high likelihood that the culprit was someone whose face was known to the victim. She definitely wouldn't invite a person she didn't trust into her room and defenselessly expose her back. Rosa-sama, you don't mean... to say it was Canon-kun, do you? I do. We're all fully aware of the state Jessica-chan was in right before she was killed. After seeing her parents' tragic bodies, Jessica-chan was very panicked. It's easy to imagine that after she regained her composure, she'd be in a horrible slump. It would be very understandable if Jessica's frame of mind led herself to shut herself up alone inside her room. And those particulars match with Goda-san's story. Jessica-chan said to leave her alone. Then Canon-kun, who is of similar age, and who may have some adolescent relationship with her, said to leave this matter in his hands. That feeling is also very understandable. So for that reason, I think Jessica-chan welcomed Canon-kun into her room. But what if it had been Goda-san or Kumasawa-san? Would she have let them into her room? I believe I have gained Milady's trust. But even so, Oh, then I guess you're still a suspect after all, Goda-san. I assume Jessica-chan probably didn't like you very much, so I didn't think she would have let you in her room. I was convinced that you couldn't possibly be the culprit, but maybe I was mistaken. No, I am sad to say I may not have been accepted by my lady. What about you, Kumasawa-san? Oh, we are far too separated by age to understand the feelings of a young person like Milady very well. And for the same reason, perhaps Milady never opened up her heart to us. Right, Goda-san? Yes, that's right. It would have been quite difficult for her to open her heart to the likes of us. And it would be inconceivable for Milady to let us into her room when she was grieving. Goda-san and Kumasawa-ba-chan each rubbed their hands together, affirming each other with forced smiles on their faces. It was truly unpleasant rondo. So it was a person who might be allowed to enter Jessica-chan's room while she was grieving. A person who might have been given access to her defenseless back. And who had a master key. That only points to one suspect. It was impossible for anyone except Canon-kun. Please, wait! Canon-kun definitely wouldn't do something like... Oh? Then is there someone else? Is Goda-san or Kumasawa-san suspicious after all? Who do you think is more suspicious, Shannon-chan? Come on. I could never. No, Nanjo does not have a key, because he's not a servant, he's just a friend of Kinzo's who happens to be a doctor. Or, who happens to be his doctor. It wasn't me, Shannon-san. Yes, it was not me. Of course, it wasn't me either. The ones who had close relationships with Milady were Kanen-san, and after him, you, right? Yeah, isn't that right? Jessica-chan might also let Shannon-chan into her room. You were supposedly with father, but in reality, could you be the culprit? Shannon couldn't be the culprit. Didn't you just say she was doing some important work with grandfather? Yes, I know. Neither Shannon-chan nor Genji-san is the culprit. Father confirmed they were together the whole time. Well then, what do you think, everyone? After being told that, no one could respond. Even if someone did manage to argue back, they then have to offer the name of a different suspect. And no matter who that suspect was, it would have to be someone right here. No one could do something like that. Aunt Rosa glanced at everyone in turn, fingering the gun like it was a toy. She seemed so different from the kind Aunt Rosa I knew. No, it's probably because I'm not fully aware of the danger we're in. Maybe Aunt Rosa's attitude would seem natural if I could truly sense the peril surrounding us. It looks like no one has an opinion. Then I'll give you mine. Of course, I can't deny the possibility that Kanen-kun's a victim without a corpse. But until we find that corpse, I certainly can't rule Kanen-kun out as a suspect. There's a chance he'll suddenly appear again, claiming to have been attacked by the culprit and confined somewhere. But take care. Most likely, no, there's no doubt about it. Kanen-kun killed Jessica-chan. No way. I can't believe it. Kanen did that. To Milady? That's too much. I feel the same as Shannon. I'm opposed to labeling Kanen-kun as the culprit. Then it is the culprit Goda-san or Kumasawa-san. Tell me who's more suspicious. It wasn't us! If it wasn't Kanen-kun, then who could have locked this door? How about it, Shannon-chan? George-kun? Huh? Huh? Aunt Rosa closed it on Shannon-chan and George Aniki, laughing unpleasantly. Of course, they couldn't say anything back. They wanted to believe in Kanen-kun, but if they did, they'd have to suspect the other servants. The simplest culprit was the mystery guest, Beatrice, but she was nothing more than a guest and didn't have a master key. So if Beatrice is the culprit despite lacking a master key, then do we have to accept the argument she really is a witch who locked the door with the power of magic? That's a dirty argument. Dirty, so dirty. What are you worried about? Make it my fault. You can just make it the fault of the 19th person, the mystery guest, right? If you do, you won't have to watch this ugly battle of humans blaming each other, right? So then what? The culprit is the 19th person, the guest Beatrice. She's a witch, so she could lock the door without using a key, using magic. Are you telling me to accept that? Damn it. Damn it, damn it. In the last game, I learned all your weak points. So what will you do? What will you do? You said you definitely won't accept me, right? Then you can use Kanen as the perfect sacrifice he is. Kanen killed Jessica. If you support Rose's theory, everything is settled here, right? Kanen is already dead. There should be no need to show concern for the dead. And you won't have to suspect anyone in this room. Damn it. I won't accept you. But Kanen-kun being the culprit is impossible. I don't want to suspect anyone. However, at times, there's no smoke without fire turns out to be true. Anyway, you can never be too cautious. Dr. Nanjo, what do you mean by that? Please do not misunderstand. I do not wish to label Kanen-san as the culprit. However, until we understand the situation, there's a possibility that he is the culprit, and I believe thinking that way is safer. Ho ho. Yes, that's right, you cannot be too cautious. The general consensus certainly didn't seem to find fault with Nanjo for what he said. True, no one actually thought Kanen was the culprit, but unless they suspected him, they'd have to suspect one of the servants here. We didn't want to do that. We didn't want to suspect. We didn't want to be suspected. That's correct. We cannot be too vigilant. I take it no one objects to that, right? Understand? There's a very high likelihood that these murders are connected to Father's legend of the gold. That means the crime must have been plotted by someone who wants to keep a vast amount of gold, worth several 10 billion yen, all for themselves. With that kind of money, you could play around for the rest of your life in any country. And with a motivation like that, they might even intend to kill all of us. Because she didn't have a master key, the 19th person, the guest Beatrice, is removed from suspicion for the murder of Jessica-chan alone. We cannot conclude that she's unrelated to the crime. After all, it's a vast amount of gold we're talking about. We can't deny the possibility that there are multiple culprits. Right now, one of the people here among us might have been bought by the culprits. As Aunt Rosa yelled, she looked all around, her gun still raised. Don't believe anyone. Suspect the person next to you. That's what she was saying. But no one wanted to suspect. They didn't want to suspect anyone here. That weakness in their hearts demanded an answer from those not present. There are only two ways you can be sure someone isn't a suspect. It's if yourself, or if they're already no more than a corpse. The same goes for Kanin-kun. Until we catch sight of his corpse, he is the most likely suspect in Jessica-chan's murder. So take care. Even if he's still alive, even if he smooths things over with some explanation, you definitely mustn't trust him. Got it? No one gave an answer of their own initiative. However, those who met Aunt Rosa's eyes had to nod their heads. Humans are beings who live by molding themselves to fit society. In other words, from the time they're born, trusting each other is genetically imprinted on them. It's unpleasant to go against that. They never want to suspect someone, but if they're forced to suspect someone, they find it safest to choose someone who isn't present at the moment. For the purpose of safety and nothing more, they half-heartedly chose Kanin to be the sacrifice. Aru, thank you for the sleeveless redeem. That's ridiculous. I definitely don't want to believe that Kanin-kun is the culprit. I'd heard it from George Aniki just now, but not only were those two close in age, they also had that kind of adolescent relationship Aunt Rosa had mentioned. It may be a little late now, but yes, they really did have that kind of air about them. After seeing her parents' tragic corpses, Jessica, bearing deep wounds in her heart, would only have trusted Kanin-kun. It was very easy to imagine, and that's why I don't like it. Kanin-kun was the only one she trusted, so she wouldn't have let anyone but Kanin-kun in. So Kanin-kun was the only one who could have killed Jessica? I just can't accept that kind of argument. Understand? Even if Kanin-kun appears, don't let your guards down. As long as we cannot prove Kanin-kun's innocence, we will assume that Kanin-kun is the culprit who killed Jessica-chan. That was Aunt Rosa's claim. By using the vague word assume, she managed to convince everyone in the end. Everyone nodded weakly. And with the excuse that they were just assuming it for the time being, they concluded that Kanin was the culprit who had killed Jessica. I wonder what the dead Jessica and Kanin would think if they could hear this exchange. Jessica was crying. She was crying into the chest of the person who had put his life on the line to fight for her, Kanin. It was frustrating. So frustrating that it felt like her chest would explode. She grieved and resented how far the dignity of the dead had been trampled. How can those guys treat Kanin-kun like the culprit? Because there's no corpse. How can they treat you like the culprit just because there's no corpse? You risked your life to fight for me, right? Then the witch erased the corpse for fun. For them to call you the culprit after that, it's horrible. It's too horrible. It's okay. I wasn't able to protect you in the end, but I was able to be of use to you in our final minutes. Why doesn't everyone understand that? Stop it, Aunt Rosa. Don't call Kanin-kun the culprit with that messed up logic. She isn't saying I'm the culprit. She's just saying I'm suspicious. No. She's saying to be careful. She is saying it. These people are saying you're the culprit so they can stop thinking. They aren't thinking about who the culprit who killed me is anymore. They aren't thinking of the possibility that you aren't the culprit. And after this, every time something happens, they'll use the excuse that Kanin-kun did it, since we don't know where he is. I can't stand that. It's okay. At least you know the truth. If only I know the truth, that's pointless. I know it after dying. Truth belongs to living humans. If the truth doesn't remain, the dead won't be rewarded. They won't know what Canon could risk his life for. Truly a splendid sight. You hardly ever find a sweeter honey than the laments of the dead. Lament, lament. No matter how much you lament, the voices of the dead can never reach the living. Damn it, damn it! It doesn't matter who. Hear my voice. Canon-kun isn't the culprit. Canon-kun's corpse was just erased. Why? Why don't you understand that? Milady. I can't stand this. It's too sad. I hate it. This way, it's like Canon-kun died for nothing, right? The honor of the dead means nothing unless it's acknowledged by the living. It doesn't matter who. Notice it. Notice it, please. Canon-kun isn't the culprit. Don't go, everyone. Please don't let it end like this. Don't go. Rosa announced that this room would be sealed until the police came. The rest didn't want to suspect each other, so they happily accepted that. For now, they accepted that Canon was the culprit. Without even imagining how much disgrace that gave to the dead, they accepted it. Milady, you've done enough. Thank you. Don't go. Don't go, everyone. I'm begging you, come back. Don't leave us behind like this. Don't keep treating Canon-kun as the culprit. Ugh. It won't reach. The laments of the dead never reach. You make me laugh. Yes, that face of yours makes me laugh. Did you think your voice would reach them? It won't reach, will it, Jessica? It's all useless. Huh? Badler-kun, did you say something? Yeah, it's useless. It's all useless. Just as everyone was about to leave the room, Badler stood alone with his back to them, still looking down at Jessica's corpse. Yeah, it's time for the good soundtrack moment. What do you mean, it's all useless? Do you have some objection? I agree that we've got to stay on our guards. Sorry, I'm not buying all that about Canon-kun being the culprit. Huh. So you're speaking up at a time like this. If Canon wasn't the culprit, and it wasn't my doing, how do you explain this closed room that Jessica's room had become? To be honest, I don't have a clue on that point. Seriously, why'd I have to go and say it's all useless? Guess I'd better take responsibility for my own words. I'm empty-handed with 0 weapons to argue with. But I'm not gonna sit around on the sidelines anymore, Beatrice. Adler-sama, is there some proof that Canon-kun isn't the culprit? The expression that rose to those two faces was definitely one of anticipation. They didn't want to believe that Canon was the culprit. They really believed in Canon, so they were expectant because they wanted me to strengthen their belief in him even more. Then Badler-kun, which of the other servants do you suspect? Goda-san, or is it Kumasawa-san? Quit it, Aunt Rosa. I know the person called Kumasawa Ba-chan well. She'll sometimes slack off while on the job, but she always makes things fun for people. Even if her eyes were dazzled by money, she isn't the kind of person who'd kill for it. Badler-sama. And I just met Goda-san yesterday. Honestly, I still don't really understand him. But there's something I do understand. I've never seen anyone who cooks as happily as he does. He's the same as Kumasawa Ba-chan. Goda-san likes to make people happy. As if a person like that could kill those who praise his own food as delicious, even if money was piled up in front of him. Then who do you think killed Jessica-chan, Badler-kun? Who do you think shut Jessica up in a room that could only be locked by a master key? Wait, before I argue about that, there's something I want to make clear. I don't want to talk about it. If so-and-so is not the culprit, then so-and-so must be the culprit. I just want to talk about how it's completely impossible for Canon-kun to be guilty. You say you can prove that Canon isn't the culprit. How? It's actually simple, and it's something I almost overlooked. Bito, repeat it. If you can say it, try saying it. Canon-kun had a master key on him. Huh. Canon-kun doesn't have a master key on him. How could you possibly know that? A short while ago, I heard from Goda-san about what happened. About how Jessica went to raid the VIP room, right before she and Kanin-kun went off on their own. Goda-san, you did a good job remembering it. You protected Kanon's honor. I did? I heard him say the same thing, but I don't really understand. Could you explain it, Badler-kun? That's right. When Jessica unlocked the VIP room, she borrowed the key from Kanin-kun, but didn't give it back. So Kanin-kun doesn't have a master key on him. Is that really so? True, Goda has no recollection of the master key being returned to Kanin. However, she might have returned it when Goda wasn't looking. How does that prove that it definitely didn't happen? If you just search the pocket of Kanin's corpse, you'll be able to say for sure, but you can't. It's impossible to prove. It's all useless. It's actually pretty simple, isn't it? No way. So you're saying that's why Kanin-kun didn't have a key on him? Yeah. And to prove it, all you have to do is search Jessica. Kanin-kun's master key should be in Jessica's pocket. Dr. Nanjo, would you check for us? Indeed. Nanjo dashed up to Jessica and searched in her jacket pocket. Everyone was expectant. Please, be there. Here it is. Is this it? Yes, that is a master key, without a doubt. At Genji's statement, there was a small ooh of joyful voices. That's Kanin-kun's master key. I'll say it again. Kanin-kun doesn't have a master key on him, so there's no way he could have locked the door. It certainly does appear that way. But Kanin-kun was the last person to meet Jessica-chan. The fact that he's suspicious hasn't changed. Let's give that stuff a rest. Huh? Fundamentally, humans are supposed to be creatures that can trust each other, but because we live in a tough world, we learn how to be deeply suspicious. So we suspect everything. We're sad creatures. I won't deny that's our nature. But the one thing I won't let you do is reach conclusions without proof. If someone looks suspicious, that doesn't make them guilty, it makes them innocent. Of course, the world is filled with wolves. I'm not saying you should carelessly believe everyone. But if you're gonna conclude that someone's guilty, you'd better have some perfect evidence. Unless you do, don't go around accusing them based on speculation. Ugh, that's... I was the one who brought up this, there's no smoke without fire. That was careless of me. I apologize. Badler-sama. Wonderful reasoning, Badler-kun. Thank you too, Goda-san. Because of what you remember, Kanin-kun's been cleared from suspicion. Thanks for the stretch redeem, Psycho Reaper. Yes, let's not forget to stretch. No, It was the crisp sound of the witch applauding. Well done, well done. Not a bad job. Crap. Did I fall for that bait piece just like you wanted? You magnificently proved that Kanin at least couldn't lock the door to this room. The servants should all have had master keys. With that as proof, Kanin was treated as the culprit, but you've at least managed to clear away that suspicion. In that case, how did the culprit who killed Jessica lock the door? So that's the problem we have now. Huh. I got drawn into exactly the flow you wanted. I got you, didn't I? Furthermore, you said something outrageous about not doubting any of the other servants. Well then, I can't wait to see how you try to smooth that over. Shut up. Let's start right away. You'll probably just deny it anyway, but first let's check the definition of this room as a closed room. Very well. First, there are absolutely no types of hidden doors. This door is the only way in or out. The only way to lock this door is with Jessica's single key or the master keys, only one of which is held by each servant. It is on the second floor, but it's probably possible to enter or leave through the window. However, the window is locked from the inside. I can spin the chessboard around already. If I start by arguing about the door or the lock, I'll probably be stuck dancing on the palm of your hand. Do as you like. Well then, what should I repeat? Repeat it. Kanin-kun was killed in this room. Very well. Kaden was killed in this room. But I erased his corpse with magic, right? Again, repeat it. Kanin-kun's corpse is in this room. I refuse. I can't repeat it. Because I erased the corpse with magic. Yeah, figures you wouldn't say that. There's got to be a secret hidden in there somewhere. Damn, where's that mysterious point I've got to find? Did they lock it without the master key? Or did they somehow kill those two while they were inside the room and it was locked? Or did they kill those two and then somehow escape? I hate to say it, but I'll have to cover up the moat first. Repeat it. The last time it was locked was due to a master key. I also refuse that. This refusing thing is really vague. I don't know if you refuse because it's impossible to repeat, or whether you can repeat it and you're refusing on purpose. Back when discussing the lock to the chapel, you completely turned the tables on me. When I have an advantage, there's no need to go out of my way to use red when it might be risky. That's all there is. I guess that makes sense. Originally, the point of the red was to counter my strange theories. Naturally, I'll use it in a way that works to my advantage. Now that I've got to worry about you twisting it around, I won't use it pointlessly. Well then, what move will you use next? I imagine a move placing suspicion on Goda or Kumasawa would be easiest, yes? Damn, it feels like you're leading me by the nose and it pisses me off. Stay quiet a bit, I'm thinking. Of course, this door is the same as the chapel. When locked, it does not permit any form of entry. I'll say it more, no trick could have the effect of locking the door from the outside without using a key. Huh. Damn you for always using red when I don't ask for it. Time to step back to square one. For now, I've just got to think. I'll lay out everything I know. First, there are two victims. Jessica and Kanin-kun. Kanin-kun's corpse isn't here, but Beatrice admitted in red that Kanin-kun was killed. So even without a corpse, he's included as a victim. There are a few questionable points, and depending on which I focus on, my line of thought changes a lot. First, after the culprit committed murder in this room, how did they lock it? If we assume the culprit's someone with a master key, it's extremely simple. But I'd like to avoid that if I can, because I'd have to suspect Goda-san or Kumasawa-san, or maybe even Shannon-chan and Genji-san. Here I noticed something. I was contradicting myself. I was strangling my own neck. I want to deny Beatrice no matter what. I want to erase the existence of that brutal, fickle, ridiculous witch. So I have to explain everything with humans, not magic. But that also means suspecting some human. I don't want to suspect anyone. Of course, if there's some clear proof, I'll have to believe that the person in question is the culprit. But until that happens, I don't want to suspect people. Am I just naive? Am I just a kid who doesn't want to have my feelings betrayed when those feelings tell me that this person at least could never commit murder? I want to deny that a witch did it, and I also want to deny that a human did it. I don't even know what I'm doing right now. In the first place, the only victory condition in our game was whether or not you could deny my existence. Even though that alone puts you at a disadvantage, you've increased the number of victory conditions all by yourself, making your own victory harder. It's just as she says. If I just argue that someone with a master key did it, this closed room could be broken easily. However, the number of keys that could open this door is limited, and since it's clearly known who has them, using that argument means I'd be suspecting someone I know well. In fact, have I just been averting my eyes from the truth? Even while attacking that closed room trick in the chapel, which was exhilarating to destroy, I proposed that someone stole the key from Maria's handbag and returned it. If that theory is right, then the question becomes who could have stolen that key from her handbag. Maria's handbag was probably the most unguarded while she slept. In that case, in addition to me, George Aniki and Jessica are also suspects. So George Aniki or Jessica is the culprit, or maybe an accomplice. All of our parents have been killed, right? And yet one of us consented to that and assisted with the crime? We all lamented, mourned, shed tears together in the chapel, and yet one among us was lying. That theory of yours about taking the key out of the handbag and putting it back cast a pronounced suspicion on the cousins, did it not? And despite that, you acted like you didn't even notice, announcing a theory like that so happily. Damn it. That doesn't guarantee that one of the family or the servants is the culprit. If you snuck up on us while hiding in a cardboard box, for example, there's a good chance you could have slunk into our room while we were fast asleep and stolen the key, right? Huh. Perhaps that will do for the situation. By suspecting the guest, the 19th person, you won't have to suspect the others. In that case, how is Jessica's room locked? It's no trouble at all for me to open the lock with magic, but of course I don't have a master key. If you deny my magic, you also have to deny that I'm a suspect, correct? So in other words, that means suspecting one of the 18. Oh yeah, thanks for the help. I managed to sort things out a bit. My goal is to figure out how the 19th person, the human guest Beatrice, committed the crimes. If I do that, I won't have to suspect anyone. If you could do that. Foolish man. This wasn't a closed room from the beginning. After all, there are a total of 6 keys that can open it. And several people possess such keys. You can suspect any of them. Suspect as much as you like. But you went to all the trouble of denying all of them, making it a closed room yourself. Understand? This is a closed room born from your mental contradiction. You and no one else sealed that door. So you're trying to say that I've got 2 options. Accept that a witch opened it with magic, or accept that someone I know is the culprit. Damn, are you trying to fork the rook? The rook? The rook. I thought he was gonna say road. Fork the rook. I just want to show you that moves such as this can exist as well. So what will you do, Ushimi Battler? Isn't it actually simple? Don't you just have to make sacrifices of that overly confident cook and that hag who won't be a loss if she died? Damn it. If I suspect Goda-san and Kumasawa-san, everything will be fine? That's useless. I can't think of Goda-san as the culprit. I can't think of Kumasawa-san as the culprit. But I won't accept you, no matter what. In that case, they'd have to enter the room without using magic or a master key, kill Jessica and Cannon, and even erase Cannon's corpse without using magic. How could it be done? How could it be done so that you can deny me while still not suspecting anyone else? I resign. Huh? Battler-kun, what did you say? I give up. I was able to prove that Cannon-kun couldn't have locked this door, but that doesn't mean I've managed to figure out who killed Jessica. No, that's more than enough. For Cannon-kun's sake. Thank you very much. No need to thank me. After all, this means you're under suspicion too, Shannon-chan. I'm sorry, Aunt Rosa. It's not like I wanted to resist you. I don't want to die, and I want to find Dad and the rest's true enemy. Sorry for saying something that wasn't cooperative. No, it's okay. I was also a little rash. Let's make up. As an aunt and nephew, we have to stay on good terms. Right? Aunt Rosa shifted the gun to one hand and held out her other. I reached out, and for the time being, we shook hands. Aunt Rosa's gaze was sharp. In order to deny the witch, she would sacrifice anyone. That's what her eyes told me. And me? I denied the witch. But I wasn't prepared to lose anything. I was probably the one who seemed to be fighting the most, and yet the one who seemed most separated from reality. Let's save our progress. So, here we see our current situation. So Kraus, Natsui, Jessica, Ava, Hideyoshi, Rudolph, Kyrie, and Cannon are dead. And Beatrice is, of course, here as a game piece. But we still don't really know how everything's happening. It's kind of interesting, like if you look at these, you'll see it describes like the state of their corpses. And like the blood splatter corresponds to kind of where they found the blood on the body. So these adults in the chapel had their stomachs slit open, and Jessica had her back stabbed. While Canon, his body is disappeared, so that's why his silhouette is all black. There's no corpse, and yet he's dead. The witch said so in red, so he definitely is dead even though there's no corpse. This episode has been a really interesting one, or not this, I should be careful using the word episode since that's what Umineko calls each of its 8 episodes. This stream has been interesting because we're finally starting to see a lot of these things taking shape in the game. The whole meta world, the whole fantasy meeting reality, and things playing out fantastical ways. Canon fighting the goat with his laser sword, stuff like that. And we're also seeing Beatrice and Badler go at it too, with her words in red and the way Badler tries to deny her and his strategy for using the red against her. It's just really fascinating. The entire premise of this entire visual novel is such a fascinating plot crafted together, and the further we go, the more interesting it gets. So I think that's a good place to end off for today. Next week, we're going to continue doing episode 2. I think we should be able to finish episode 2 next week, although we might go a little bit overtime off our usual 4-hour stream time, but not over by too much. Or maybe I'll do all of episode 2 next stream, and then I might need to save the tea party for another stream. I guess we'll have to find out. But I hope you guys are enjoying this. I hope it's stimulating your minds. Maybe you're thinking about how to solve the mystery on your own by reading the red text and stuff, or even just being entertained by the way that this is crafted. I think it's really cool, personally, when you get to see the humans, like Canon, fight back against the magical creatures using some kind of abilities that you didn't know that they had. And the cool thing is that a lot of their abilities of the human characters are things that are mentioned that play into something later on, like how Canon keeps saying that he's furniture, and then Beatrice summons her furniture, and then says that Canon is a furniture created by Kinzo, and that's why he has the abilities of the laser sword, is kind of the way that they describe it. It's just kind of neat. Like, a lot of it, I find myself riveting, even though the humans are often on the, let's say, the losing side, because we saw Canon and Jessica die. It's really neat to see them stand up against the meta entities, unlike before, where we just kind of saw them die off screen most of the time. Anyways, thank you so much for coming to the stream. I really appreciate it. And let's have a look at Twitch and see if anyone's streaming. You'll never forget the goat and the laser swords. It's such a memorable thing, right? It's such a weird concept, right? It's fascinating. It's fascinating. Okay, let's give someone a raid. Let's see who we should raid. It looks like Amai is streaming some Minecraft. Let's drop in on her. Stick around for a raid, otherwise I'll see you guys in the next stream. Tomorrow we'll do more Star Ocean, and I don't think we'll finish Leticia's route, but I think we'll get close. Take care, good night, bye-bye.